pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so tonight, the first item on the agenda is Kristen is here. Hi, Kristen. How are you?
Nice.
So we have our representative, the Honorable Kristen Kastner is here. Kristen, would you like me to move ahead with public comment and then circle back to you, because I really don't want to hold you to the end of the agenda? Or would you prefer to go up front first? Do you want to go now? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to suspend the order of the agenda, and I'm going to ask if the Honorable Kristen Kastner will come up and say why she's here.
I hope the honoree is here.
The honoree is here.
Yep.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm back again, hopefully many more times. I am here to present a citation to your Newbury Fire Chief, Douglas Jambray Jr., for the recognition of retirement of 36 years of service to the Newbury Fire Department.
Doug, could you
And
come
6
up?
years as fire chief. So, and if you don't mind, I'll read it.
Thank you, please.
So the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives, let it be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations and recognition on the occasion of your retirement after 36 years and 6 years as fire chief. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all your endeavors.
Thank you very much.
So thank you so much.
Doug, before you sit down. I also would like to present you with a certificate of recognition awarded by the Town of Newbury Select Board. In recognition, the Town of Newbury thanks you for your 36 years of dedicated service, and we sincerely appreciate your contributions. And I know what you've done hasn't been easy, and I am so appreciative. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much.
What a nice
Kristen.
opening.
Isn't that a nice way to open a meeting? We could do that every time, that'd be great. Okay, now we have public comment. So we'd like to receive oral communications from members of the public. Members of the public may address the Select Board for up to 3 minutes. The Select Board shall not engage in discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes. Is there any public comment tonight? Yep. Come on up, Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Mangin on 14th Street, and I'm not sure whether this is, what I have to say is best during public comment, or if I were speaking when the Sunset Club came up, because that's what my comments are about. So I defer to the chair about whether I should make the comments now.
Why don't you hold it until that agenda item? Do you have any other public comment?
I'll bide my time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. Is there anyone else here that has public comment? Okay. So, moving on to board and committee reports, I signed the PR 2326 for Julia O'Brien, the PR 2327 for Julia O'Brien. I signed the VW 2327 for Alicia Greco myself. That was for parking when I went to an in-person MMA meeting in Boston. I signed the PR 2401 for the Select Board. Grants, gifts, and donations. We have a Council on Aging donation from Angus and Julia Sampson in the amount of $30. Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have a Council on Aging donation from Alba Goldthorpe for $20.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have a Council on Aging donation from Bob and Jan Tyler Nelson. It's a 10-key lock boxes, the amount of $276.19.
Motion to accept.
Second and discussion.
Okay, now we move to discussion. Leslie?
Just to let everybody know that these lock boxes are for the safety of the elderly people that the police department is providing. Well, they're being provided for, but in the event that any of our elders can't get out of their house, the police, any emergency people will be able to get in and assist them with whatever is happening.
Thank you. I'll read for the public, so the public's aware, the letter that was submitted to us from the Council on Aging was submitted to the Newbury Select Board. Newbury residents Bob and Jan Tyler Nelson have donated 10 key lock boxes, similar to those used by real estate agents, for seniors to use to hide a key and provide the code to the Newbury Police Department in case of an emergency. These will be most helpful for seniors who live alone and may not have family in the area to assist in the event of an emergency. Bob confirmed with the police department that a senior can contact the Newbury Police, who will keep a record of the code in their database. If there is an emergency at that location, the police will be able to access the home using the key inside the lockbox. The donation totals $276.19. We are very grateful to the Tyler Nelsons for their donation in thinking of other seniors in our community. We respectfully request that you accept this donation for the Newbury Council on Aging and acknowledge this gift for Mr. and Mrs. Tyler Nelson. So I think that's a wonderful opportunity that they have provided for our seniors in the town of Newbury. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes. This came really from the fact that Chief Fisher and the Deputy Chief participate with the Council on Aging for like coffee with a cop once a month. And we have these discussions with seniors about security, email scams, so on and so forth. And the Nelsons, the Tyler Nelsons got that idea for one of those sessions, and it was a great idea.
Wonderful.
So if anyone thinks they would like to attend Coffee with a Cop, it's really, really educational,
They're monthly, aren't they?
monthly.
Patty, do you know when the next one is?
The schedule until the fall is changing a little bit. so
Every other month, Patty?
We do it every month.
Okay.
But we were doing it consistently, but then that conflicted with my schedule, so we're in the middle of a change. But it is in the Council on Aging newsletter.
Tuesday, September 12th,
Is the next one?
10 o'clock.
Tuesday, September 12th at 10 o'clock. Right here, 12 Kent Way. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I'm just gonna move on. We have a public hearing at 7:15. So I'm gonna jump through the agenda a little bit. Under new business, I'm gonna skip over the public hearing. Under new business, we have a release from a temporary construction easement at 40 Northern Boulevard. Could I entertain a motion?
I understand this motion is to have you sign the release of the easement along with the owners of the property. Is that the way I understand the
Yeah,
motion?
so,
I motion that you sign the release of the easement from the current property owners.
and is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Julie, do you want to explain a little bit about this?
Yeah, is Linda here? Oh, she's right. Did you want to?
Come on up, Linda. Come on up before say who you are and explain and blah, blah, blah.
Linda McKeon, I'm broker with Seize the Day Realty in Newburyport.
Linda.
Hi. The property at 40 Northern was recently sold, but during the discovery, they found that there was a temporary construction public access when the beach was refurbished in 2009.
Okay,
There was no certificate of completion, which is Exhibit D. So they just to dot all the i's and cross the t's, they would like it signed.
okay. And this went through town council, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this similar to like having a lien on the property until, you can't do anything with it until?
No, not really. In fact, it did state that it only lasted for 2 years, but it's the lawyers wanting it just buttoned up.
I
Thank you.
understand.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions from the board? Yeah?
So, and I'm not gonna get deep into this, but this is a little different than the easements that were put upon some of the other properties when the sand was deposited in front of them, right, Tracy? All right, so it's just a temporary passage over, good, so I'm fine with that.
Okay. So any, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Okay, we have 3 minutes. I'm gonna jump through this. Well, let's just sit and wait, because we have everything else here I think is gonna take a little bit of time, so. Do we have the applicant for the public hearing? Are they here?
Old Newbury?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. so we have 2 minutes before your public hearing. So we'll open the public hearing. The,
Alicia, can we,
what, Jen?
I say, can we appoint the grave officer or Dennis or something like that? Or do you wanna wait?
We're not gonna be worried if it takes a little bit longer.
So we have to open it. Oh, yeah, you wanna go down and, I don't wanna do anything with these liquor license.
Yeah,
All right, so I guess that's a good point, Jeff.
just
So,
above old business.
yep, so, we have an appointment, a fiscal year 2024 appointment for the Veterans Grave Officer, Dennis Palazzo. It's gonna be through June 30th, 2024. Dennis could not be here tonight, he had a conflict. But I'll entertain a motion to appoint him as a Veterans Grave Officer.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes. Every city and town in Massachusetts has to have a veteran's grave officer. And the veteran is defined as someone who was honorably discharged, a veteran, lives in the town for 6 months. And if anyone knows Dennis, he was instrumental in bringing the moving wall to Plum Island Airport. He's a really good guy, and he's really supportive of veterans, and he'll do an excellent job. And I expect to tutor him as well.
He's very community-focused.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Dennis. Okay, so Leslie, at 7:15, when we open the public hearing, as the clerk, you get to read that. So, let's see, and this is our.
We ready?
No, not yet. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it's 7:15, so this is our little.
7:15.
This is our cheat sheet, too.
This is a notice of public hearing, legal notice, Town of Newbury, Select Board, 12 Kent Way, Byfield, Mass. 01922. In accordance with Chapter 138, Section 12, the general laws of Massachusetts, notice is hereby given that Newbury Select Board, acting as the licensing authority of the Town of Newbury, will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 25th, 2023, at 7:15 p.m. at Newbury Municipal Offices, 12 Kent Way, Byfield, Massachusetts, 01922, for application of Old Newbury Golf Club, 319 Newburyport Turnpike, Newbury, Mass. 01951, for an amendment to their alcoholic beverage retail license, multiple liquor license amendments, including change of license type, change of officers, directors, managers, and alterations of premises. Signed by Alicia Greco, Chair, Newbury Select Board, Newbury Daily News, Monday, July 10, 2023.
Okay. So I think I did a faux pas. Hello, Senator Tar. I think I should have opened the public hearing first, and then you read that into the record, so my apologies. So I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing for Old Newbury Golf Course.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. I don't think we need to reread all that notice. Yeah.
You know, I think everybody has a long enough memory
Yeah.
that
So
they'll
now
be
we
able to
have
carry that
this.
through.
So Julie, have all the green cards been returned? So we have everything, the tear sheets as well.
Yes.
Okay, the applicant's representative is here, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Philip Blake here on behalf of Old Newbury Golf Club. I see Honorable Bruce Tarr here. Is there, should you be recognized? Or?
We'll get him after your public hearing.
He's always
Yeah.
recognized.
He is always
He's the only one with a suit on, so,
Good evening. Again, Philip Blake here with Mike Musi, the past president, and Lucille Lang, the current president of Old Newbury Golf Club, and we're really kind of just doing some cleanup. Recently updated the lease with to a longer-term lease, and as part of going through that process and looking at all the records, just picked up on some kind of administrative things that should be addressed. And one of those is that our Section 12 license is set up as a club, and while it is in fact a golf club, it is open, for example, Mondays through Thursdays to the public at large, and of course we have lots of people come and play golf and bring guests, and they are all entitled to go to the restaurant and get a meal and get a beer and to utilize the license. So currently, for a club license, it really is designated for places that you have a tab and you can't really pay over the counter. And the way it works at Old Newbury is you actually, pay for your meal, you pay for your drink, and it would be more appropriately set up as a retail license as opposed to a club license. While we're doing that, there's been no real change in the liquor license for a long time, so we're taking the opportunity to clarify the premises. They did remodel. The town's sort of well aware. They go through the annual renewal process, and fire department is in and inspects the premises. So there's nothing new. We're not actually changing anything. It's just taking the opportunity to, put it down on paper and make sure everyone's had a chance to take a look at it. In the normal process, the ABCC will come out. They'll send an investigator to come out and review the premises, and they'll make sure it all conforms. So might as well get that done at the same time. Since this last came up, there also was a decision and then a follow-up sort of guidance provided by the ABCC as to sort of how to define a golf club, how to describe what areas are being serviced in what way. And so we're bringing the club up to date with that. And the last is necessarily as part of any multiple amendments, we have to list the current officers and directors. So it's all kind of routine housekeeping type stuff.
Great,
Any questions or?
thank you. I don't have any questions, but does the board have any questions? Dana?
Well, I do, and I don't, I think this might be just clerical issues with the actual application, because you've got change of license type is checked. Change of officers and directors, LLC managers is checked. And then, on the fourth page, you got alteration of premises checked.
Right.
That is not consistent throughout the entire contract, because it's checked on this page, alteration of licensed premises, and then, there's a page.
Section 7?
Yeah, there's a page back here where it's not checked. And I'm just wondering about the requirements of the and it's like the financial reports and all the other stuff. I understand what you're trying to do, but I'm not so sure that this was actually, oh, here it is, on number 7, amendment, alteration of premises, and it says, must fill out attached financial information form. And then you have a note down here somewhere where you didn't think that was really required because you're not actually changing anything. So I'm just wondering, does the alteration of premises, does it really come into play with your application?
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea, again, as expressed, is to make sure that everyone has a chance to take a look at it, that when the ABCC comes out and if you wanted to take a look at it, make sure it matches up. There was a change in the manager in 2015. Before that, and they've got a fair amount of longevity at the club in terms of the officers and directors, but we can't find the filings, and they can't remember the filings. So, again, it's kind of an abundance of caution. We couldn't necessarily tell you how it's described with the town and with the ABCC. So it's not technically an alteration, but we want to invite that look, right? I think that's,
Yeah, I found the other portion I was looking for, near the end of this section on the, I'm pronouncing it, entity vote.
yes.
Alteration of licensed premises is not checked on that page. So that's where I see a conflict with,
Okay,
with the application, just from a technical standpoint.
I don't know why that is not changed.
Do you see that that's not checked there?
Is it because the entity didn't vote for the alteration of the licensed premises? They only voted for the change of license type, the change of manager, and the change of officers? Is that possible?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, we have the current president, past president there. This frankly is me trying to make sure that we don't have someone come back in 2 years or 5 years and say, what in fact are the licensed premises, where there's just no historical record to define it. So again, I don't think we're kind of neither here nor there. We don't have something to peg to say, here are the premises, and there's no check the box here to say, define the premises without altering it. So inherently, we know that we went.
I understand that,
Yeah.
that problem,
Yeah.
because I read the whole thing, so
Yeah,
it's.
well, good close reading. So the alteration of the premises has not been sort of the focus of what the club is looking at, but it is obviously something they want to do. So if it's, and we have the person who can check the box, check the box,
Yeah.
if that would,
And this is, again, this is clerical, I'm sure, but addendum A,
Yeah.
where you got your change of officers.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that this is leading up to all the queries, which are a follow-on to this. And it says down at the bottom, criminal history, has any individual identified above ever been convicted of a state, federal, or military crime? If yes, attach an affidavit. None of those boxes are checked, not the yes or the no.
okay. It should be no, there's one box there for the whole cast of characters. But yes, we asked that question because we don't want the extreme embarrassment of having a problem with the quarry forms.
sure.
So
Sure.
that question was definitely asked and answered, and the answer is no. And that's the whole quarry process. I mean, they're going to go through it, whether we check the box or not, irrespective, they're going to do their quarries, and, you know, knock on wood, come up clean.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
1 second, Leslie. Dana, are you
I
all set?
think I'm probably.
Okay. Okay.
I'm looking
Leslie?
for a clarification. You're saying that you can't find any history of the change of the license between the ABCC and the town of Newbury?
The license is easier to track. It was applied for as a club license, and it stayed a club license. What we can't find is just the records, which are kind of more local of, and you know, based on the history of how the premises are described. So there's the short, they give you, you know, it's like Twitter, they give you 144 spaces to describe the premises. And so when you look at that, it's, even with a lot of thought, very difficult to accurately define any premises in 144 characters, or whatever the number of characters are. And so we've done our best to update it to match the current existing premises, along with, you know, submitting copies of the plans, the floor plans, and the golf course plan. And then again, ABCC will send an investigator out to match it all up. So we're comfortable with what's here. It's not radically different from what was there before, but it didn't specifically describe the golf course. And again, the ABCC came out and said, here's different ways you can describe a golf club. And that, I think, was 2009. There's not a description of the club that we've seen, certainly since then, that captures the golf club. So it's not a question about how the license, the nature of the license, the type of license. It's a question about the description of the premises, and wanting to make sure, again, that you, the ABCC, everyone has had a chance to look at it, look at the description and say, yes, this matches up, or no, it doesn't match up.
So prior to that time period, is there a description from the ABCC of what they say the golf club is so that it could be licensed properly?
Yeah, there's the descriptions that are contained, for example, in the annual renewals of the license. So it's, again, just the one box. But typically with the box, as there is with this application, we have copies of the floor plans, and it designates where the liquor can be served and where the liquor is stored. We don't see that. So, and that's changed inherently because in, I don't know when it was, 2014 or 15, sometime around then, they did a significant renovation. So where liquor was served and where the storage probably changed a little bit, just in the nature of some construction. So again, we're looking to make sure that's defined so that, you know, for example, I think a large part of this from the ABCC standpoint is they want a line in the sand. They want to know when they go out there if some, you know, allegation of impropriety or drinking outside of where it's, they need to know where you're allowed to. And
What their boundaries are?
that's right, what their boundaries are. And currently, we're not really able to see that. So it's there somewhere, probably. It certainly was done. It's just kind of lost in the archives of time.
Are you guys still doing a little bit more digging to see if you can come up with these answers? Because it just seems kind of like a random type of thing to not have any history on this.
Well, I came in, I met with Miss O'Brien, and we looked at the town records. You know, I know there was a lot of archival work done when there was a process going through with the with Governor's Academy on the lease, just to look back at the history of the club. You know, they kind of did a deep dive as to how their arrangement with Governors has worked over time and how the club has evolved at time. They did a nice job with presenting, creating a little, essentially, history of the club. So I know there was a lot of work done, but recognize that this is a volunteer organization. It's a this is not the Masters. This is a, you know, it's a private course, but it's also a public course. It's run by a volunteer group of directors, and we just kind of know how that works. It's not a surprise that we can't find a description that might have been submitted in 1995, right? There's just been a lot of change in the staff and the board over time. I think that the key thing from your perspective is it would be easier for us not to push that forward, right? There's, you know, it's something that's not essential, but it's important for you and for the ABCC to have a roadmap of the property. So it's really, you know, we're kind of doing this for the club, but we're also doing it for the organizations that are, or the, you know, you and the state that are responsible for regulating it. So from your perspective, I think this is a good thing, I guess is what I'm saying.
So just to clarify what I think what Ms. Matthews is asking you is, even though you haven't been able to dig up the documentation that you were looking for,
Right.
simply filing this application or this change, alteration of licensed premises with the ABCC kind of brings you up to baseline, I guess. is
That's
what I'm
right.
looking for.
Yep. We don't want to question it. I don't think it serves us or the state or you well if someone goes out there and says there's an ambiguity as to where the license, what in fact are the licensed premises.
That's very true.
Yeah.
because-
So we're approaching it from the perspective that we better understand what's inside and outside the line.
Okay. Any further questions, Leslie?
No, I appreciate all the information that you provided.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff, do you have
And
any
thank you for the
questions?
close reading.
I grew up in Old Newbury, and I can see why the history would be hard. So I, you know, since 5 years old, I was at Old Newbury, so it's a great place. It's just one of those things, and the ABCC, I'm sure, is going to be very strict and very stringent,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
will present a very broad, you know, spectrum of things that'll have to be accomplished, so
Mhm.
it's good.
Bill, do you have any comments?
No, I just think that, from my perspective, this documentation is a snapshot of who, what, and where Old Newbury is today.
That's right.
No need to delve into history. It's the definition of Old Newbury as it is today.
Right.
I think that's well said.
Yeah, so when I was looking at this and I met with Ms. O'Brien, I certainly was gonna say, it's really important that we go and try to find the records from 1960 to 2000. It's ultimately, as you said, it's a snapshot of what's there now that's important, and then you go forward from there.
Thank you.
It's like an insurance policy for you.
Well, it's a basis for our insurance,
Right.
right? So it's,
So,
from
I
that
mean, but
perspective.
it ensures that you have the knowledge and you can provide it to your insurance.
Well, it
That's
also-
right, again.
It also is important, as we've learned this before on a previous application before, is that the ABCC is very specific as to where, if it's on-premise or off-premise, or where you can drink alcohol. So it's important that the location is delineated with the town and with the state in case something happens. So it's important that this get filed correctly. Okay.
I have one more, I found one more note that I wanted to, I want to mention. And this was in the package that kind of went with this, and I think most of this is history, and I don't even know if this is current, but this is, the name by which the corporation shall be known is Old Newbury Golf Club Incorporated. And number 2, it says exclusively for pleasure, recreation, and other non-profit purposes within the meaning of section 501c7 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1954. Is it really a non-profit?
It's a Chapter 180 corporation.
Chapter, okay.
Yeah, which is the part of the Mass General laws that's set up for this type of organization. It kind of runs the gamut. I mean, your homeowners association might fall within a similar
Gotcha.
category, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a C3. So a C3 is,
Right.
you couldn't make a donation and write it off. You can make a donation.
But you
just
can't write it off.
Okay, Julie, we received any written correspondence on this for the public hearing from the public? We haven't received anything. Okay, so I'm gonna thank you. I'm gonna ask, is there anybody here? You can have a seat, and if I need you to come back up, I'll ask you. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment during this public hearing?
Jack Rybicki, 37 Larkin Road. As the status as a nonprofit organization existed from 1954 till currently, I presume, wouldn't there be a significant amount of financial detail from that point forward or before? Because you would be filing every year or every
Okay.
term in order to achieve the status? So wouldn't they have the oversight of that upon every filing?
Jack, you need to go through me.
10-4.
Okay, so
Right.
me, okay, so
So he has a position that he's been in, as Dana just pointed out, that there's a 1080 or a particular nonprofit position. If he's filing and that position exists today to this point, 2020, I would think that the state has oversight and needs to approve that position every year or every third year, whatever the term for that is, and therefore there would be significant financial filings regardless of the status of the manager in question.
So
That's
the-
all I'm pointing out, because it seems like a big, again, another gap that's, just is pointed out as part of what they're maybe trying to fill in. I just point that out. That's a very large gap. Thank you.
Right, thank you. So is there any requirement on your, I don't think there's any requirement for financial filings, correct? It's just alteration of premises?
You can, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure that if it's going to, we're focusing on the description,
Correct,
and that's not filed.
right,
There's a brief description in your application that can carry forward.
okay. So for the matter before us tonight, to the question that Mr. Rybicki has asked, that's really not relevant, correct?
I don't think it's relevant, but there are returns that are filed.
Yes,
So I think that's part of this question, and just to confirm that, yes.
okay.
Annual returns are filed.
Only because he cited the NGL law, that's why.
Well, that's
Right.
chapter 1.8, so the question was, are you really a not-for-profit? And I think what we have to distinguish whether you're a chapter 180 corporation, which is a not-for-profit nonprofit in Massachusetts, but it's not a charitable organization necessarily. Whereas under the tax code, there are different sections of 501c that designate different types of organizations. C3 is the one naturally associated with that, and that's a true qualified charitable entity to which we can make donations, get tax credits, etc. And then there are other subsections of this. You know, the most common ones are condominium associations, homeowners associations, little league baseball groups that get free, you know, fees and pay some expenses out. If they're not a for-profit entity, they do technically have to file a return saying, you know, we received little league subscriptions in the amount of 980, and we
Alicia, can
you know,
TV hear him if he's not at the microphone? Is he-
Yeah, I think, oh,
I think we're kind of off point, but
Yeah,
I'm just
I do
trying to
too.
connect it.
okay, thank you. Okay, are there any other comments from the public? Thank you. Okay.
Bruce, you're all done.
Does the board,
Bruce, you can wake up now.
does the board have any further comments or questions? Jeff? Dana?
No.
Bill?
No.
Yeah, we're good, okay. So, I'm going to, close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now we're gonna vote. So, I will entertain a motion to, accept this application to submit to the ABCC. Is that what you need from us? Yeah. Accept this application, on behalf of the Old Newbury, Golf Club, and pass it on to the ABCC Commission.
Motion made.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay.
I think so. I was tempted to jump in and help you with the tax question. The easiest way to think about it is every nonprofit corporation in Massachusetts is organized as a Chapter 180 corporation. Tax status is determined by a filing with the IRS, which is where you get the 501c, et cetera.
Yep.
So all nonprofits in Massachusetts, Chapter 180, that's how they're organized. Tax status is variable. Tax status determines eligibility for charitable purposes.
By the federal government. Thank you. Okay. So, moving on to Senator Tarr, I would like to ask the Honorable Senator if he would come up to the podium and speak.
I'm glad no one asked me to comment about golf, but there is only one person in this room qualified to talk about me and golf, and that's Jeff Walker, but I'm going to assume that we'll maintain confidentiality for this evening. So I am delighted to be here with you tonight to recognize Chief Janvrin on his retirement. And I want to join with not only I know the board, my legislative colleague from the House of Representatives that was here, but I think the entire community. Doug, to thank you for the service that you've given to this town. You know, it is something that we can never take for granted are the people every day that get up and they leave their house and they never know what they're going to face. But what they know is going to happen is when one of us is having perhaps one of the most difficult times in our lives, they're going to be there, they're going to be professional, they're going to be qualified, and more importantly than that, perhaps, they're going to be our neighbors. And certainly the Newbury Fire Department represents all of those qualities. And it takes a certain quality of leadership to be able to lead that kind of an organization, one in which you're trying to make sure that there are appropriate resources, and you and I have worked together on that very successfully, and I'm pleased about that. That there are policies and protocols in place that maintain morale and professionalism, and that the department maintains the flexibility to adapt as new technologies are developed and new methodologies are developed. But the one thing that stays constant is that a fire department has to be staffed by people who will put themselves in harm's way, who are willing to make sacrifices of being away from home and family at all different hours of the day and night, and be willing to say that when there is trouble, send me. And that kind of an organization demands leadership that is charismatic, is effective, is resourceful, is disciplined, and inspiring. And so, Doug, I just wanted to come and congratulate you on your tenure as the chief here in Newbury. We've had a lot of interesting ventures together over the years, and I appreciate them very much. And I've always appreciated your commitment to the community and to the public safety that too often we all take for granted. You never did. And we appreciate that very much. So I do have a citation for myself and my colleagues in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Senate. And if I could read that. It's good to see you in that Class A uniform, by the way. It's, nice to see Wally is the official photographer for the union. Wally's also in his Class A's. I'd say it's very impressive. I know sometimes over the years they shrink and it's hard to get into them, so it's good to see. Good to see that you're both able to fit into yours. But I'm really pleased, although it's a bittersweet moment. I am pleased to come and congratulate you and thank you for everything, including your friendship. And I know that you have earned retirement. I hope the next chapters in your life will be doing things that you enjoy, because you have spent an awful lot of time taking care of us. And you deserve our thanks and our appreciation. So I do have this citation which reads, "Be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to Chief Douglas Janvrin, Jr. in recognition of your 36 years of dedicated and committed service to the town of Newbury. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success, that this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to and a copy thereof transmitted by the Clerk of the Senate. And this is signed by our Senate President, Karen Spilka. It's attested to by Michael Hurley, and I'm proud to offer it on July 25th of 2023 with only one request. We could certainly use some help with firefighting at the State House these days. I'm hoping that you might find some time once in a while to help us with that. But Doug, again, thank you for all of your service and everything you have done for all of us. We should never take it for granted, and tonight's a time to express our true appreciation. Congratulations. And with that, Madam Chair, it's nice to see all of you. I don't think I've been before the board since the election of new members, but it's nice to see all of the members of the board and just express my appreciation for all that you do and my willingness to continue to work together with all of you. It's a great partnership that we have. It's one that serves the people that we collectively represent well, and I want to offer my continued service to all of you in partnership and thank Tracy for her work as well, because she knows, usually it's a question of when the town needs money, she knows exactly where to call. So.
Well, thank you, Senator. Thank you. Thank you for always being there and being willing to help us and being the first in line, saying, what is it you need?
Huge gratitude to all the work that you do for this community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alicia, I think you have to recognize too, that not only does Bruce do an awful lot for the whole community, but with the MRBA, Plum Island, and, solely organized by Bruce and several others when it was so early organized. Without that, Plum Island would have had a lot of issues that are a lot bigger than what they are now. So thank you, Bruce.
Thanks, Jeff. Now that you've taken the vote, I feel that I'm free to say that a lot of the genesis of the MRBA was actually at a table at Old Newbury Golf Course that you were sitting at, and a group of us were, and I hope that won't be in the application, Philip, but I have indeed. But it's all about one thing, and the one thing is collaboration. The reason the MRBA works is because people like all of you come to the table, and you're committed to partnership. And not having rivalries between communities, not having rivalries between agencies, but saying that we're all in this together. And when we face an issue like erosion, which is something that is bigger than all of us, the only way that we can hope to have success is by working together. And I've had the honor since 2008, Jeff, of chairing the MRBA, and I want to thank all of you for your participation. This community has wholeheartedly supported our efforts, and I think when we look on the beach, we can see the results to show for it. We've accomplished things that people thought would never be accomplished, and there's only one reason. We all sit at the table.
Yeah.
We all look eye to eye, and we're all committed to each other. So,
Yep.
thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you, Bruce.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much. If
Have
I
a-
can help with any further tax consultation, I'll be out in the hallway.
All right, thank you. So, the-
He was a joy to listen to.
You are right. Okay, so next on the agenda is a one-day entertainment license for a wedding on August 19th, 2023 at the Sunset Club for a live band between 6 PM and 10 PM. Could I entertain a motion?
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I just got my instructions to get the microphone closer. We're gonna get it right here.
You're a
Leslie.
low talker.
I don't know how to get stuck in this
Do
chair.
we have the
You
applicant
always get the
here?
bad show.
Come on up.
No, next time.
My name is Harrison Davis. I'm the applicant for this one-day entertainment license. This is for our wedding band to perform from 6 to 10 p.m. on Saturday, August 19th at the Sunset Club. Just, if you'll bear with me a little bit about myself. Myself and my fiance have been staying on Plum Island for about 2 years. Gracious host there, my future mother-in-law, has been allowing us to stay there. It's at a family home that's been there since, the 1920s and in the family. We have, wanted to get married at Sunset Club since we, moved that way. It's been a local watering hole for us, and it's just really special to us as a couple. With that day, we want to make sure that we're surrounded by family, friends, good food, and of course, music. We understand that this is, something that is separate from the Sunset Club's year-long license. It's a one-day exception. We'd like to assure the board that we will continue to work with Sunset Club to minimize any inconvenience to the surrounding community. We understand the importance of being considerate to our neighbors. For the community, this is a one-time occurrence. For us, it is our once-in-a-lifetime event. Our wedding day has required many non-refundable vendor deposits, and invitations have been sent since May. And we sincerely hope that you will approve our request and allow us to have the wedding that we so carefully and considerately planned. And please let us know if we can provide any further information. And thanks for your consideration. And I'd like to just hand it over to Bo, one of the owners of Sunset Club.
Sure, thank you.
Obviously, I'm here just to support their desire and to have the wedding that they want. And obviously, I'd be happy to entertain any concerns or questions that you might have.
Great. I think you might have some.
I think
So, well, before we move to public comment, or the question that I know is coming from Steve, anybody have any questions from the board?
I have comments.
All right. Do you want Leslie to go first?
Yes, go ahead.
Ladies first. Leslie?
I've had phone calls that are constituents that are very concerned about the time. And they have attended the other meetings that you have come to with the agreement on what time you would end your live music. And so they're concerned that their life is going to be kind of interrupted. And you know what? I totally get that this is an incredibly special day for you. But then there's these other people that are out there that say, you know what, I live there and I don't want to listen to that till 10 o'clock at night. So my phone has been ringing.
I'll say this, that since we have reapplied for our year-long entertainment license, we have not had live music, and we have no, other than this wedding, we have nothing booked or nothing planned as well. So, you know, I'll reiterate what I said at the last meeting, which is, this is just for flexibility to be able to you know, give somebody a special day to, you know,
Understandable.
do a fundraiser. And we're asking for these hours just for this, as he said, as Harrison said, this one exception. Moving forward, you know, we will definitely offer all of our guests that would want to have a wedding only the parameters within our license. That's why we're applying for this exception.
If I remember correctly, though, that our last communication was you didn't have anything on your books as far as upcoming events that would have live music. So this came as a surprise.
That's completely understandable. I will say that, you know, this has been booked for...
Since last year?
Yeah, since last summer. And you know, I understand that there is a discrepancy in what I had said previously, but I had not thought of this booking. And this is the only wedding. Jen, my general manager, is here. This is the only booking until we have one more in August and one more in September, but I think this is the only one that has a live band and this is why we're coming here. This is why we're applying, where we're trying to be transparent and forthright, and that's why we're applying for the one-day license.
And the transparency is greatly appreciated. I think that you have to take into consideration the details that we went through and trying to accommodate you in the best way that we can.
Absolutely.
I don't want to take your day away. God forbid. That would be like the worst thing ever. But coming from a position of we had already had this kind of discussion, I'm kind of have mixed emotions going on here. You know, maybe you want to go and canvass the neighborhood and invite them all down for a champagne toast and see if that will help to, you know, smooth things over. But, you know, it's just, we had a discussion, we had an agreement, and like I said, I don't want to take the best day of your life away from you.
And again, that is why we're standing before you for this one-day exception, is because we do understand what we have asked previously and what you've granted us. And, you know, that's why we're asking for this one exception. With the complete understanding and, you know, appreciation of the last meeting.
And that's all my discussion is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm actually the one that asked you about future events, and you told me, no, I got nothing, there's no live bands on the books now. That was about a month ago. And then we had a rather lengthy discussion about measuring the decibels that are coming out of the Sunset Club. And we had a fairly long discussion about the only thing that you've measured so far is your in-house speakers with your own amplification. That's what you told us a month ago.
Yes.
So we don't have any data on the decibel levels that are going out around the neighborhood. We still don't have any data, because I was trying to get wrapped around my head that it would be nice if you would, in the near future, be able to have a live band during the hours that we approved, so that possibly we could get some data. And now you're here tonight and you want to have a live band till 10 o'clock in the evening. That's kind of hard to swallow when we haven't even had a live band there yet.
I understand that. I mean, again, we're trying to be forthright and transparent, and, you know, I do understand the position of the board, and we are just simply trying to give a bride and groom their day. That's it. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than that. We are simply trying to provide.
Can you provide earbuds for all of them so that the music just plays into their own head?
I can tell you this, that we will do everything. I mean, we are incredibly sensitive to this matter, obviously. The community has been, you know, or a small amount of the community has been very sensitive to this matter. So we will do everything in our power, including directional, volume control. We will do everything in our power, should you grant us this one-day exception, to mitigate any interference to the community.
Well, I know I talked about
Excuse me.
what Dana was asking about as well. You didn't have data from a live band, but at the last meeting, I did specifically ask if you would commit to accumulate data from a live band. You'll do this with this live band?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. I have the
decibel
decibel meter,
level-
and I'll do it from the top of the hill, from McLean, from the fence line, from the other side, 10th Street. Absolutely. I'm happy to do that.
Madam Chair.
And the
Can we
decibel
have
level,
you provide that to be on?
if it gets out of range, out of control, intervene.
Will give you my word and my general manager's word that we will control the volume.
Hold on one second. Leslie has another.
If we go forward with this, and you can provide us with this kind of information, can you provide us with like an accurate kind of video that we can sit and actually watch and listen to during a meeting so that we all understand it equally?
I don't know if a video would be helpful. I think we need a decibel reading.
Well, it would you could do that at the same time.
Well, what I could do is I could show you the positioning of the band and the speakers and how that actually, the direction of it actually helps with dampening the sound to the community behind us, to the neighbors behind us. I can also take, with that video, I can give you the decibel readings for each hour on the hour for the live band.
A video recording with
Correct.
with music. If you measure decibel levels, it's how much you crank up the volume of the device you're listening to.
Correct.
Okay, you're playing it on. So it doesn't represent what actually happened at that night, but if you did what you just described, told us what the decibel levels were at that time of the recording, that would be useful, I would think, to what you were looking for, Leslie.
Yes.
I would be happy to do that.
So I have some questions. The night of the wedding, are you going to be open to the public, or is the
No,
venue
it's
closed?
it's closed to the public.
It's closed to the public, so you're gonna, it's a private event.
Mhm.
How many people are you planning on having at the wedding?
Final count is like 159.
So we'll call it 160, plus staff, right? 160. Where do you propose to park all these? Because you have enough parking on site to park all these cars?
We have our 51 spaces. We also have the cottages given. We
Okay.
have
So you
space
have
at the
adequate
cottage as
parking.
well.
And
Correct.
we're also providing shuttles from Hotel in Amesbury.
Okay. So, thank you for providing the layout of the venue. Where, so it looks like, sorry, where is the band gonna be set up to play? So you are gonna have a dance floor.
The
Can I-
band is going to have their backs to the parking lot facing Old Point Road.
Do you mind if I approach? I can show you on the
Yes,
map.
please.
All right. So, let me see.
This is the dance floor.
That's there's the kitchen. All right, so right here is where the band will be and the speakers will be facing.
Okay, so what's across the street over there? Is that the marsh? Okay,
Yeah, the community and the neighborhood is this,
is the back here.
that's
So
the fence line to the houses.
okay, and then this is across the street that goes down to the
That would be like.
refuge.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so this, the band, how many pieces with the orchestra, how many?
I think it might be in the description on the application. I want to say it's 6 or 7.
I think it's in the description. What type of music are you gonna be playing? I'm assuming it's not gonna be harps and violins, right?
No, there's some wind instruments. There's a saxophone. We're fans of oldies. We're fans of some new school, but we'll all be done like on classic instruments.
Okay, so you have 165 people here. Live band, 6-piece band with sound engineer. They'll be using the speakers. Okay, so I don't know if the board can see this. Do you guys have this in your packet?
We have it, yeah.
So you can see where the band's set up here. And it looks like the sound is gonna be going across to the marsh. As opposed to what happened on Memorial Day weekend, where was the band set up then?
You want me to approach?
Yes, please.
So, it was exactly the opposite. So where this dance floor is,
Yeah.
there's like a sun awning. That's what these wires are, and the band was actually positioned here, facing
Okay,
this way.
that was the problem.
Yep.
All right, thank you. And you'll have a tent and stuff, right? I'm assuming you're gonna put a tent over it for rain and stuff.
That's the backup plan if it does rain.
Okay, so you're only gonna have a tent if it rains, because the tent would help with the sound as well.
If it rains, there's a tent going into the parking lot, and the band would be in the actual establishment.
Would be inside the bar.
Inside the bar.
So we'd move the band inside, which would help with the, if it would rain, that would definitely mitigate
Well, I'm not
even
doing a
more
rain
sound.
dance, just so you know. Come on up.
I just wanted to say that the band themselves.
Come up here. Say who you are. Your
My
name.
name's Jennifer Lampman. I'm the general manager of Sunset Club, and the band themselves will have a tent over them, even if it is nice out, like a 12 by 12.
So they're not in the sun.
So, correct, so that they're shaded, protected from the sun. So that might actually help with like upward motion. We're trying to keep it all going out
Yeah.
to the marsh
Okay, well, thank you.
while passing the dance floor.
Okay. And the music is gonna be, I assume, popular music, like.
It'd be wedding music,
wedding
mix.
music, yeah. And do you know what guidance you've given the band as far as volume control?
That Jennifer and I will be in constant communication with them about the volume levels. That's the direction that they've been given so far, and that we would dictate to them where they would set up.
And because they have a sound engineer working a soundboard for all of the microphones on the instruments, I'm sure we can actually tell that sound engineer, like, this is the cap for the decibel level, for, however they control that.
Okay. Well, I
So you
appreciate-
guys will have a little bit of control over it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have a great deal of control over it.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to control it. Okay, those are my questions. Jeff, do you have any questions?
Well, how come, and it's gotta be size, right? The building that's on site, that could never house the band and the dance floor? Because I think it would solve a lot of the problems that you guys are facing.
We have done that in the winter with live bands. The problem is that you can't, we don't have bands typically that are like a dance band. They would be a band that is accompanied by while you're having dinner. So we would have to take all the tables out, and we wouldn't have enough space for diners, which is what we're designed to do. We're a restaurant. So it's all about, that's why we don't book a lot of live bands, is because, we're designed to be a restaurant. I mean, and yes, inside we do book, but with 160 people, there's absolutely no way. We have a capacity of 50 people in that space.
Is the dance floor that you have outside large?
It's not even a dance floor, it's a deck. We're just moving out picnic tables.
So I'm just wondering, because this is going to be something that probably, I don't quite understand why maybe people could eat on the deck and you move the band inside and move a few tables out, because the structure is gonna mitigate noise and it's gonna solve a lot of this trouble.
Well, I mean, I would agree with you that it would solve that, but then it wouldn't solve the bottleneck that you would cause with 150 people trying to go into a small space. That's the problem, and I think that if we are able to collect data on this, that you'll see that the decimal levels are actually, with the direction that we do face the band and the direction of the amplification, that it is a manageable decibel level. And if that's not the case, then, you know, we'll revisit that as we said the last meeting, and we'll bring them inside, and we'll only do this when we can bring them inside.
So what other events do you have scheduled for this year?
So there's Plum Fest. We have an August wedding.
The Plum Fest ends at 6 o'clock, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have an August wedding. Is that correct?
What time is that?
And that's at 5.
That's in the evening.
This is an August wedding.
No, I'm sorry. We have this one in August, and then we have one in September.
And then one in October.
Yeah.
So will you be back before the board again in September and October for another entertainment license going into the evening? Is that your expectation?
Speak to that better than I can.
I don't believe so. I know for one, there's just a DJ coming, and he'll just have a small booth that we'll just put inside.
And he's going to work off of our speakers.
Just off of our speaker
So
in-house system.
It'll just be a laptop with our system, which doesn't really even fall under.
I know another wedding is just, making a playlist on Spotify that, again, we can just plug into our in-house.
Okay, so this is the only one that you can foresee as of right now requiring a live band. That would be a live.
That would be outside.
That would be outdoors.
Outside of our.
In September, I have a couple discussing, they're talking about like a two-piece inside for like 2 hours and then going to a playlist.
So this would be the only one that goes outside the parameters of the license that's been granted.
Live band. Okay, okay, any other questions from the board?
So I guess all the other ones, they're all gonna be over at 7 anyway, so that you.
Well, at least
there's
that
no
element
reason for you to come here for.
Right, the element of music would be, but after 7, it's just our in-house speakers playing a
Right.
playlist.
Covered by the common vic.
Right.
Bill, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm kind of parked where Leslie is. This is a significant event for the couple, and I know it's causing relative heartburn based on what happened before. We've heard some good support in terms of promises of how it can be controlled, and I mean, God knows if it's not controlled, we'll hear about it.
I mean, absolutely, and you'll make a future determination based on my word or not.
Jeff, do you have any further questions? Leslie?
I'm all set.
Okay. All right, why don't you guys have a seat? I know Mr. Mangan had a comment. I was gonna ask him to come up and speak.
May I look at the layout first?
Sure.
What I'm interested in seeing.
So here's-
If a big tent's necessary, where would it go?
Here's the band.
Yep.
This is the marsh, for about 160 people. On the Memorial Day, when the incident occurred, the band was staged here, facing this way, and now they're gonna stage it here, facing that way. There's a dance floor.
Yeah, if it was raining, there's talk about a big tent, and I'm just trying to see.
Why don't you actually ask him up there?
Let him take it.
Steve, do you want this for reference?
Sure, thank you.
You're welcome. I think he may have a question for you as far as the tent goes.
And I confess, it's a bit of a leading question. This is Steve Mangan on 14th Street, again. If you need a big tent, where's it gonna go? Over by the bocce courts, or?
No, it'll go actually in the parking area.
So that's where the cars park, right? It is. So I'm trying to imagine 160 people in cars underneath the big tent.
It's the tent, I think, should also be in the plans that we provided.
It is.
It is, it's a 40 by
It's a 40,
60.
yeah, it's a 40 by 60.
But again, we're shuttling people, to.
That's the size of my house.
Well, there's a number of directions I want to go with the comments. I'm not sure whether I drew the long straw or the short straw amongst the neighbors to come here and make some points. But regarding what I'll call the big tent, when this was discussed at one time with the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board, there was some mention about how a big tent for any function wasn't part of what the permit was all about from the Planning Board. And in order to have a big tent, forgive the big tent phrase, you'd have to go back to the Planning Board and get the okay, and probably the building inspector, and the Conservation Commission in a brief interchange was saying, well, we'd have to look at that if you're gonna be putting a big tent here. My point is that you just can't say, I'm gonna have a big tent and that's it. There's a number of other bodies in the town that would be involved in that decision. And that was discussed, in a Conservation Commission several months ago, so it would be on tape. And so too with the Planning Board. I think it may have been Peter, whose last name I can never pronounce.
Burnett.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Pecos.
So there's a lot of issues with the possibility of having a big tent. And again, to have it in the parking lot, to me, makes no sense at all if you tried to shelter people and park people. Is the 165 number that's been used for attendance, is that the wedding guests or is that everyone? Because
Wedding guests.
because there's going to be a bunch of staff too that needs to park the car someplace. And I don't think.
Start to respond to some of this.
Well, just make notes.
The neighbors who became knowledgeable about the meeting of, roughly a month ago, thought the deal was made. Deal's not perhaps quite the right word, but here we are a month later, and we're trying to redo the deal when apparently, from what I've heard, it was well known to the owners that there was a pending deal coming or a pending request coming. And that was, asked by your board about whether anything was coming down, and the answer was no. Now, given that and what I'm hearing today, I find myself saying, gee, what does that mean if someone says no a month ago, but then it turns out there was something underway? Particularly since I think I also heard it being said that there were, quote, a lot of non-refundable invitations or something like that already sent out. To me, that means this thing was well in the works, and we were all kept, and again, it sounds more pejorative than I mean it to be, but we're kept in the dark about what was really coming down the pike. So we can talk about precedents as well, in that we've got a precedent coming before us where the applicant says one thing a month ago, then changes them and says, oh, no, we also had another vision already in our back pocket, but we didn't tell you about that. But to accept that is quite a precedent where it doesn't matter what's being said to the board and what the board is buying into, what the residents are buying into. Because when that decision was made to have music at 7 o'clock, some of us liked it more than others, but we, sucked it up and, we could move on. I don't think it's a good precedent to accept what is being proposed right now. I'd also like to point out that it would be a precedent for the next wedding, and that if we allow this to go through without revisiting who said what when as part of the deliberative process, nonetheless, would be allowing it to happen, and why would we not allow it to happen again and again and again? And the residents aren't in favor of this, which gets me to whether it's no matter what the issue is, Plum Island is a residential community. And there are some residents that have stood up and made their opinions known about how their quality of life would be affected by what is essentially a business operation that was meant to not adversely affect the surrounding community. So we've got all these things coming down, whether it be parking, the tent which needs to be permitted, precedents, a precedent that the golf center could go for too, I would suggest. I think we ought to the residents would like to see the board stand by the decision that was made, 7 p.m., and the music stops. And I certainly know that a wedding is, a big deal day, but I also suspect that no matter when the music starts, whether it's 7 or whether it's 10, there's going to be a lot of whooping and hollering and noise. I recognize we're talking about music, but there's going to be a lot of sound in the neighborhood. And I think I am speaking for my other nearby abutters that we're really strongly opposed to this plan, particularly the way it's been presented, as we're finding out, or I'm finding out now. And we'll report back to my neighbors. And if you have a question, Madam Chair.
No, I don't. Could I have that back when you're done?
You bet.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so Mr. Sturm, is that how you pronounce your last name? Do you want to come up and respond to this?
So as far as the tent goes, I would assume that the third-party tent company that was hired has gone through whatever process they need to go through to get this approved. We have no control over this. That proposed tent that we have since decided not to pursue was a completely different matter, and this is a completely different matter.
So can I ask a clarifying question on that? The tent that you just referred to, was that going to be a permanent tent that you wanted to have?
No, the bride and groom has hired a tent company for a rain contingency.
No, the one, he's talking about planning board or conservation commission opined on. Was that going to be something that the venue wanted to do permanently?
That was something that we wanted to do in a
semi-permanent way?
Permanent way,
Okay.
yeah. We would take it down at the end of the season, but again, we decided not to pursue that.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Second of all, again, this is a one-day permit, and I understand how that could be perceived as that I'm trying to pull the wool over your eyes. I very simply am not. There's no malice involved. Jennifer is our event coordinator. She does the bookings for all of our events. I simply said, to my knowledge, I did not think that we had anything upcoming, and that is correct. I did not. So I'm sorry for the mistake, and I'm sorry that I misspoke, but to my knowledge, I was not aware that we had any live music booked.
And staff parking, did you want to answer to staff parking?
Yeah, again, we have ample parking with the cottage parking. It's a private event, and then they have provided shuttles as well to their guests. So
Okay.
the only issue with the tent would be as a weather contingency. Otherwise, we're not going to limit parking at all.
Okay,
And even with that, we would just provide, the bride and groom would provide shuttle service.
okay. Thank
If I
you.
can just add that, according to what Sperry Tents said in their reservation, the client is responsible for checking town laws and securing necessary permitting. Building permit is required. Sperry Tents will pull the permit with at least 60 days' notice.
It's a Sperry Tents will pull the permit?
That's what the document says, yes.
But the client is responsible for checking with the town. So I'm going to ask the bride and the groom, have you guys checked with the town and see if a permit is required for the tent?
So we haven't individually, but when I dropped off the one-day entertainment license, I was told that there was a tent application already submitted, and they approved it at the same time that I dropped off my application. Is that not?
Julie, are you aware of that?
Two,
I think it was through Chrissy. Through,
The building inspector?
yeah.
Okay, so he's filled it out. Thank you.
Being on a beach area, how do you plan to secure a tent so that in the event of weather, you're not going to lose your tent?
Leslie, I can't speak to that. I would assume that the tent company would be the
It's
person
actually,
that
it's in
would be able to
It
do
is
that.
there, okay, thanks.
If they describe it.
Because I know
I
it's
guess-
a process.
Sure.
I understand that the tent's got nothing to do with the music, and I don't want to muddle that, but this doesn't seem like the kind of thing that you could cancel the day before, this tent. I mean, I don't see,
Oh,
I-
it's a
I-
non-refundable payment for that. So we're just having that as a backup option, and if it rains, they'll be putting it up. But if it doesn't rain, they won't.
Well, when is that decision gonna be made, if it's gonna rain or not? Like the day before, is it gonna go up, or is it, I would imagine,
The day before.
yeah. I mean, I don't know.
But it's non-refundable, so they out the money no matter
Yeah,
what.
we're totally out the money and okay with that for the tent portion if it's a sunny day.
But I mean, that kinda gets into the parking issue where, I mean, that is a big tent, and it's gonna go in your parking lot. I don't see where, if it's not gonna rain, that that's just not gonna be there.
But it won't. What
It really isn't. Wow.
they've secured that simply for the contingency of rain.
Okay.
And we don't want to rain on anybody's parade
Or wedding.
Or wedding.
or wedding.
So, any other questions? Bill?
Can I say something?
Sure, come on up.
This is gonna be very quick. It's my daughter that's getting married, and I just wanna say to the neighbors, like, I totally respect that. I live on the basin at the end of Old Point Road in the Newburyport section, so I hear the, party boats. You know, they play music, and, I would just, you know, when that happens and it's late at night, and I raised little kids there, it was very disruptive. So I understand that concern. I didn't like it either. But I would ask that you give the neighbors a copy of Harrison's letter, because I think if they read that, they'd be okay with just one night.
Thank you. So actually, why don't I ask, Harrison, do you want to come up and read your letter publicly? Okay. 'Cause it is a nice letter.
I mean, he pretty much read it
I pretty much summarized it
At the beginning?
but-
Yeah. I mean, I
want a
read it,
copy?
it was a nice letter. There, Leslie has a copy.
Thank you. So this was just submitted with our one-time application. It just says, "To the officials of the Newbury Select Board, we hope this letter finds you well. Our names are Nicole St. Germain and Harrison Davis. We are seeking your approval for a single-day entertainment license for our wedding band to perform from 6 to 10 p.m. on Saturday, August 19th at the Sunset Club. We have been planning our wedding for over a year now and chose the Sunset Club as our venue because of our love for Plum Island. Nicole's family has been on the Plum Island since the 1920s, and we have been staying in the family home since we moved back from San Francisco almost 2 years ago. Hopefully, we would have found a place by now, but real estate is crazy.
That's right.
It is truly our happy place. We planned a wedding that reflects us as a couple, and we are dreaming of a day filled with family, friends, good food, and a great band. Music is, of course, a key feature of any wedding for dancing, for entertainment, and for ambiance. We would like to assure the Select Board that we will continue to work with Sunset Club to minimize any inconvenience to the surrounding community. We understand the importance of being considerate to our neighbors. For the community, this is a one-time occurrence. For us, it's a once-in-a-lifetime event. Our wedding plan has required many non-refundable vendor deposits, and invitations were sent in May. We sincerely hope that you will approve our request and allow us to have the wedding that we have carefully and considerately planned. Please let us know if any further information can be provided. So and again, I hear the community on precedents, and I totally understand that. This is not to set a precedent. I understand that there's a 1 year license that needs to be reviewed every year. That's completely separate and what was agreed upon. This one, it just sounds like it fell through the cracks with planning. For a while, my fiance and I were, in between, whether or not to do a DJ or to do a live band. We didn't know if we wanted to do it during the day versus the nighttime. With the heat and lack of AC at Sunset Club, we, erred on the side of caution and wanted to do it, later in the day so our guests weren't, fainting out there. So that's kind of like, just to address a couple of those things. And again, it's not to set precedents. This is just a one-time thing that, we've had in our minds, for about a year now, and we just want to have that one day. So.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, did you have one more comment?
Please.
Come on up.
let me take another shot at precedents. Again, it's not just the precedent of allowing this event to happen. The precedent, which is really being violated, if you will, is that a month ago you were told one thing and you came to some consensus about what to do. Those words should have consequences, and to not follow through on them, that's a real break with precedent that I would not like to see the board doing. I'd like to think your decisions have consequences, and you can't allow a change for something that's been in the works for more than a year. Now, my best wishes to the couple, but their arrangement with the Sunset Club was one where the Sunset Club should have been saying, whoa, wait a minute, letting you know that there was this thing in the works a month ago. Instead, they agreed to what we agreed to a month ago, and now they want to change it. And if you're going to have rules and then change them like that, that's a really bad precedent, because it means that no matter what I agree to, I can come back later and say, never mind, give me a break. You've done that before. I do not like to hear that. I'm speaking for myself. To me, that's a terrible way to run an organization and run a town.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the precedent.
Thank you. So, earlier today, I went and I watched our last meeting when we had this discussion. And you were clear that you may have an occasion, maybe 10 or 12 times a year, and I assume a year outdoors for you would be summer, that you may have an opportunity to request an entertainment license. That's when I think Mr. Packer asked you, well, do you have anything planned? And unfortunately, that wasn't disclosed to us at our last meeting. That being said, I did hear Mr. Stewart say that he would be amicable to, a license granted, for a one-off event. And I see that as this, personally me. This is just I see this as a one-off event. That being said, you can see it's quite painful to have these one-time events on the island, because the island is residential, to Mr. Mangion's point. It's residential, but the zoning board and the planning board and everybody else permitted you. You have every right to run your business there. You have all the licensing for that. So anyways, that's just what I wanted to share. Any other comments from that?
May I say one more thing? I'm sorry.
Come on up.
As the general manager and the person who books all the events, I just need to stick up for my friend Bo here, who everybody seems to think lied to them. I have personally booked every band that has ever
I just want
played.
to correct you for 1 second. We don't think he lied.
I'm sorry, unknowingly.
There was not a
Discrepancy.
full disclosure.
I have personally booked every band that has ever played at Sunset Club. And generally, the band is the event. So that is the event that goes on our calendar. Bo, who handles so many aspects of multiple businesses in the area, he was coming to all of these meetings, and we were talking about sound levels, and he was running around with decibel meters. And, I just had on the events calendar a wedding. I didn't have on the events calendar a band playing. Literally the day that hammer came down, that 7 o'clock was the end time, is when the light went off in my head that said, wait a second. Nicole and Harrison instantly got in touch with me, because word travels very fast on Plum Island, about what about our band. And I think within 48 hours, they started to plan to put in for this. So I just would like to clarify that.
Well, thank you for clarifying.
That's what was on our calendar, was a wedding, not a band, which is usually the event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
A statement, I think. You say the hour for the event is 6 to 10. If the ruling was it has to stop at 7, the live music stops at 7, you'd have an hour of live music, if that's what the decision was. If you started the wedding instead of, if you had the ceremony earlier than 4:30, is there any possibility of scheduling it earlier so you can take advantage of doing something up to 7 o'clock?
I wish that were the case.
Or you're committed?
Why don't you come up?
I wish, that were the case. We carefully planned this, as I mentioned before, just from a, wanting it to be a little bit cooler. We have, Nicole's grandmother, my mother, who have, health issues that they can't be out in the sun for that long. And we're very worried for our wedding guests in that regard. Then also, our vendors are booked for those times. We don't know what they have, beforehand. That could be a scheduling issue. Same with everything from, running the shuttle buses. We have people coming in from California, from New York. So it would be a big logistical change.
No, I understand. I just was compelled to ask.
Yep.
I mean, it bothers me of a 1 hour window for a band, okay?
Yep.
6 to 7.
Madam Chair?
Dana?
Just to add a little bit to that, I remember the conversation about, we were looking, some folks wanted to restrict the front end of your window. And we decided, in talking to you, Bo, we decided that we weren't gonna put the restriction on the front end of your window so that you could entertain weddings and things like that, because I know that your hours of operation, during the week, I think during the week it's like 3 in the afternoon, and on the weekends it's like 11 in the morning is when you open. And we did not put any restrictions on the front of your window because you kind of requested us not to, so that you could entertain weddings and things on the weekend. So this is just blowing me away. And getting back to the planning, I agree. Someone mentioned, I believe it really was the responsibility of the Sunset Club to let you know what the rules are before you even get started.
They didn't even have a license.
Somebody dropped the ball here someplace.
All I can speak to is, what I've been, purview to, and it was under our understanding that this was first and foremost a beach club, beach luncheon spot, and we were still deciding what type of music we wanted, and once we made that decision, we thought we were good to go, and then this ruling came up several weeks ago, and we reached out because we wanted to make sure we crossed our T's and dotted our I's and got everything in a timely fashion and got our signatures in place, and that's all I can speak to.
Thank you.
Kind of looking at it a little pragmatically, I think we gotta be creative a little. I mean, Bill has a point. No one has really tempered the fact of how noisy it really is. Is this an opportunity? Could the time be pushed back from 10 to 9? Could Bo really put the band inside? So I think their day is pretty important. So before anyone really digs in, the reason I'm speaking like this, and I guess I'm confused, because I will paraphrase what Dana just said, and I'm having trouble remembering that meeting, and Alicia, you looked at it, but I do remember that you guys said you're gonna come in for an entertainment license for weddings.
Which is why they're here tonight.
So, I mean,
Again,
Weddings, retirements, birthdays.
So, I
Live,
mean-
live music, anytime you needed to
anytime that
have
we would
live
exceed
music.
our
Right.
license, not for any live music before 7 o'clock, but anytime we would exceed our license, we would be standing here.
And the reason I said that is and I think, and I'm not to get after Steve, but I just remember that I was expecting this, and I don't think you guys are being devious, and maybe I just don't remember the meeting that well, but I always remembered you're gonna come back in for weddings.
No, that was discussed, that's what's
So I'm
my
having trouble
understanding, was that your
understanding
understanding?
everyone's like,
If I may,
It's the time.
our license
and the
didn't-
time, Leslie, you're probably right, and maybe we should be talking about the time, how
hold on.
long the music runs.
Yeah, so
Sorry,
go ahead.
Bill. And
Our
where it is.
license didn't change over the past year. Your decision was to grant us our license as it existed.
Correct.
So one way or another, Harrison and I would have been standing here. I think the waters have gotten a little bit muddied because of the controversy that has surrounded the license up to this point. But one way or another, we would have been applying for this license.
Right.
So-
I think where the problem arose was the unfortunate incident on Memorial Day. Had that not occurred, maybe there wouldn't have been.
And I think Leslie had a good point, 10 o'clock. So, I mean,
I'm just going to interject on this one, too. When you came to us for your entertainment license the last time, you had let it lapse, and you had no entertainment license, but yet you were having live music. So, it's like again, Harrison, I am so sorry. This is like probably the worst thing you're going through right now, but we're having a difficult time, I think, understanding where you're coming from.
Well, this was the
because
first-
you weren't forthcoming at the very beginning.
Oh, I believe I have been completely forthcoming. I mean, we let the license lapse because we were unaware that we had to renew it. Again,
You're a businessman, you should have been aware.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But I don't think that I wasn't forthcoming in that. I let it lapse. That is absolutely my mistake. I was unaware as to the process because all the other licensing processes had a protocol. The entertainment license didn't have the same protocol as all the other licenses, the VIT, the common VIC license. They didn't have the same protocol, so I was unaware. And it was the first year that I had reapplied. So again, I apologize and I take full responsibility for letting it lapse. It is absolutely my fault. And, to the point of me trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes, again, Harrison and I would be standing here if the license didn't lapse. We would be applying for a license outside the parameters of our license for one day, one way or another.
And I think you were given conditions when you were granted this license, that you were made to understand that it could be affected at any time.
Yes. I'm absolutely aware of that.
I'm not trying to pull
Yeah, but-
anything, but what I'm saying is,
But Leslie, I want to be clear, we're not talking about his license tonight. The only matter before us tonight is
the wedding.
the wedding, right?
And what I think we're trying to acknowledge to everybody is that we're not comfortable right now with what's being presented to us. I want that couple to get married in the worst way now, too. Unbelievable. But if you can just go and maybe, like Jeff said, tweak it just a little bit. Let's, can you grab it back like by an hour
Well,
or so?
let's have that conversation. So, do we have a motion, on the table?
Yeah.
Can you read it?
You approve.
To approve it.
Approve it, Jeff and Bill, yeah. And then
Okay.
we went right into discussion.
So, now we've discussed it. We have a motion to approve it as it was given to us.
Presented, yes.
Presented to us. We've had all this discussion. What is the tenor of the board? I heard Leslie mention conditions. What are you thinking?
If you'd like to have your music till 10 o'clock, I think it's a little bit late. But if you guys can tweak it back by an hour, it would
The
be,
problem with tweaking anything at this point is everyone has an invitation with all the times set, including the band. So they've paid a significant amount of money for a certain window for the band.
and I understand that, but
I don't know that you can, I don't know that anything's tweakable to make the game.
I guess it's just a matter of trying to work with you and not against you, to make it a little bit more favorable for us as well as for you. And yes, you have invested it, but you've also all acknowledged the fact that everything's non-refundable. So, I mean, if you lose an hour on the band, you lose an hour on the band, but you still get the band.
I think the only thing I'll just say to that is,
Yeah, because you know why? Because these microphones are for the TV, so.
I think just the only thing I'll say to that is, this is how we've planned it so far. As soon as we knew that there was an error, we came and we tried to get everything, buttoned up and get your approval to allow us to have it like this. I understand that point of view, and I'd say I would like it to be a last resort, and if possible, I would like to keep it submitted as the 6 to 10, see what the board's vote is, and then go from there, if that's all right.
Okay. So Leslie has an idea of dialing it back to 9 PM. Anything else that you want to add, Leslie?
No.
All right. Jeff, do you have any comment yet? No. Dana, do you have any comment?
No.
Bill? Okay. Do you want to, I guess, amend?
Address Steve.
Steve, is there anything that you want to say that we haven't heard yet? Because this is the board deliberating at this point.
Yes.
Is there new information?
I believe so. What I've been hearing is the board negotiating with the couple. The couple isn't making the application, it's the owner.
Okay,
and you
so-
should be addressing the owner.
So, hold on a minute. The board hasn't negotiating with anybody. We're deliberating as a board. That's what we're doing now. We haven't made any negotiations with anyone.
Perhaps I chose a word poorly, but you're showing, in my opinion, from where I sit, you're doing a lot of back and forth, showing some concern for the couple. And I understand that, it's difficult. But the person going for the permit modification is the owner, and that dialogue needs to happen. And we all have sympathy for the couple. But the responsibility that we're trying to solve, in my opinion, goes from the board to the owner of the Sunset Club or the operator of the Sunset Club. And it doesn't matter whether it's a wedding, it's a funeral, it's a memorial service, it's a whatever. Like this application is for something with the operators of the Sunset Club. And I think we're losing sight of whose axe is being gored, or that may not be the right analogy either, but I think you can put it together.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for letting me speak.
Steve, the name of the applicant on the license is the couple, not the Sunset Club.
See, I
Thank you.
think,
I know.
thank you, Steve, but I think what's being confounded here is the original entertainment license that was granted at our last meeting and the matter before us tonight, which is a wedding taking place from live music from 6 to 10 on August 19th.
Alicia,
Jeff?
as you just stated and I stated before, and Dana stated it before us, and I'm very confused. I never thought for an instance that Bo wouldn't be back asking for some
Correct.
sort of entertainment license, whether it be like was just mentioned, the event would be a wedding or something else. So for me, with all this rhetoric and everything else, I think I'm trying to come to grips with, are we gonna grant the license for the event? And how long will the music last?
Correct. That's all that's before us
None of
tonight.
this is a surprise. None of this is a hoopla.
No. It's just, disappointing that we weren't aware of it, but you know what?
But he's-
Life
but
happens.
he
so-
also, he said he was coming back.
Right, and he apologized, and that's it. So the matter before us tonight is this entertainment license. Leslie, did you had an idea of making it, changing? Do you want to amend the motion, and then we'll vote on that?
Madam Chair?
Yes?
The applicant has told us that they don't want to change. They want us to vote on it as is.
I understand
So-
that.
So I'm just throwing that
No,
out.
that's very true, but I didn't know if Leslie still wanted to move forward with her amended motion.
I do. I would like to amend the motion to 9 o'clock.
To 9 o'clock, okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the liquor license, approve the entertainment license till 9 PM. So let's vote on that, vote on that. All in favor of the 9 PM stop time for the entertainment license before us for Nicole St. Germain and Harrison Davis wedding? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, all opposed?
No.
No. Okay, so the ayes have it. So the entertainment license is gonna be modified from 6 PM to 9 PM. Now, I have another question of the applicant. I mean, not of the applicant, I'm sorry, of the owner, about decibel readings. Do you want to come up? Ms. Selectman DeMayo has asked if you could possibly, for future reference, for the town of Newbury, collect decibel readings for this. We need to know kind of what we're collecting and what parameters that's gonna be done. I just happened to pull this off the internet, and they have, exposure values of, anything above 80 decibels is considered elevated. A chainsaw is at 110 decibels, just so people can understand what that is. Heavy traffic or a noisy restaurant is 80 decibels. A toilet flushing or a vacuum cleaner is 70 decibels. Normal conversation is 60 decibels. A live rock band is 130 decibels.
Does it give you how far away?
No, but that doesn't matter. That's the decibel level that you hear. So if the decibel reading is given at somebody's property,
But that means it would be right in front of the source of the noise.
that's right. So it should not be, it should be significantly less than $130. So I guess my question is if you could possibly work with who at the town of Newbury would be appropriate for him to work with to set these parameters so we can get data points. What do you think, Bill?
I'm really not sure.
Tracy, do you have any advice on that?
Do not. Somebody from IT?
No.
I don't have anyone from
Oh,
IT.
that's right.
That's what I was gonna suggest.
That's right.
I can offer this, that if the select board wants to give
One of us
me-
represent and come down while you do it.
Yes, just to corroborate what we've done. And again, I think the most, the best data that you could get is, say, the top of the hill on McLeod, 10th Street, and behind McLeod. That'll give you the closest neighbors.
So, who on the board wants to work with him? Leslie, you do?
I will.
Okay.
What day is it?
August
Saturday.
August what? 8th?
19th.
19. Yeah, so I'll give you my contact information and
I'll give
we'll
you
set
mine
up
as
a
well.
time.
Great.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we voted on the amendment. Now we have to vote on the license. All in favor of approving the entertainment license from 6 to 9? Say aye.
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 Aye. My only suggestion to you guys is, even though the live music has to end at 9 PM, you can still have it, don't have your event end at 9.
Right.
You can continue to have.
You guys can put on your, so they'll still have music.
Okay. So next is a public property use request for a wedding ceremony. It's the same people. At Beach Lot U02-0-27 on, again, August 19th. Oh, no, you guys, come back. They have another public property request use. Where's the bride and the groom?
Groom and the mother-in-law.
You guys also have a public property request to use the beach
Yes.
for the wedding?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're gonna vote on that next.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Wrapped up in this.
Gotta have a wedding
No.
before we have a band.
I know. So, the public property use request is the wedding ceremony from 3 PM to 5:30 PM. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Do you want to describe where it is that you're gonna get married? Come on up.
I forget that beach entry point, but
Is it at Center Island when you go on the end, right there?
just straight, yeah, if
Yes,
Sunset
with the
Club's on your
rock.
left, you just go to that entry
Yeah.
point, and it's gonna be right over there. And, as, the police chief, I think, signed,
Yeah.
said to just watch out for the piping plovers and to not disturb them.
Yes, please don't.
So where is it?
The center.
The center.
Okay. Does the board have any questions?
Sure you want to do this now?
Like I said, well, actually, I don't know if I said, but we've been together 14 years, so we gotta do it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a public property use request for Byfield Cruise Night, September 8th. The rain date is September 9th. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so this is before us, Steve Fram, and I believe
Tony.
Tony Matthews. Leslie, this is your husband coming before the board
I'll
with
recuse
the matter.
myself.
Did you want to recuse yourself? Yeah, okay.
I don't have, do I have to walk away, or
Yeah, you can't sit here.
can I sit in the audience?
Yeah,
All righty.
thank you.
I don't want to stand in the hall.
I'll steal your tall chair. No, I will. Next meeting.
Okay.
I'm getting texts saying, who's the midget? So, okay, I can't say that now, but anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so, Steve, this is, you want to come up and talk about, well, first of all, do we have a motion and a second?
Yeah, you did Leslie and Jeff, but you want to redo it if Leslie's recusing
Yes.
herself? Okay.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve.
motion to approve.
Second.
Steve, do you want to come up?
Steve Fram, 21 Forest Street.
Tony Matthews, Main Street.
Want to describe to the board what it is you want to do?
Same thing we've been doing for 17 years. We
Yeah,
have a cruise night, automobile cruise night on Central Street. Runs from Lunch Street to Main Street. We've always blocked off the street for regular traffic. The fire department knows what's going on. The police department knows what's going on. And we've never had a complaint. So,
okay, so you're asking us to approve a public property use of the road?
Yeah.
And you are asking us to close the road too, right? Because,
You can do it if you want, or we'll do it. I mean, we're asking for permission to block the street.
to
yeah.
block the street. See, we've never voted on that before. But, okay, so you want to close the road here. So I have the police chief here. Patty, do you want to come up and speak to this?
Sure. So first I want to say the questions that I have are not, I don't want them to be interpreted as I'm against the car show. Like you said, you've done this before. This is my first time with the administration having a role in this, so I may have different questions than have ever been asked before. So please don't interpret that as me being opposed to the car show. But when we talk about closing that part of the road, we're talking about a Friday night, right, from 6 to...
3.
From 3 to 9-ish PM?
3 to dusk.
Oh, dusk.
So 9 PM, 8:45, 9 PM.
7:30 or so, yeah, because we're into September by then.
So my first question would be, I would like a time for it, because that kind of changes the lens that I look at it through public safety with. So when we talk about closing a road, what mechanism are you planning on putting? My biggest concern is the Central Street down, and then up from the post office. What are you gonna be using to block the roadway?
Either barricade or cones.
DPW always gives us a trailer full of signs and cones. Use them appropriately.
Okay, so not Jersey barriers?
No.
Okay. Will you have people stationed at the road closure signs, volunteers or whatever, directing the traffic down the detour, who will be assigned to those parts? Because normally when we look at closing a road, for whatever the reason, and I look at details versus non-details, usually Jersey barrier is the thing that makes us say, okay, we don't need to station someone here for safety, especially if we're talking about putting people and other things in the roadway. So that becomes my concern, is coming down Central Street on a road where we get, speeding complaints from Central Street, detouring them down Lund Street.
Are they going, Patty, are they going to Lund Street and Church Street, is it?
My recommendation would just be detour down Lund and around instead of dealing with changing the one-way, would be my recommendation.
They wouldn't be changing it if you can go right or left onto Lunch Street, and then you can go down Church or stay on Lunch.
To go to West Newbury?
Oh, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Yep.
So, excuse me one second, Patty. So you're gonna close right where the
2 streets are.
the cross,
Yep.
the first one, where the old church used to be?
On the far side of,
Yeah,
on the
more
far
towards
side of
Main
Lu-
Street.
of
You're not gonna
Lund.
close all that up there. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Patty, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to.
What we've always done, Chief, is simply put a road closed sign with a sign that says detour in either direction.
Hold on while I pull that out. Sorry, I had it stapled. So you'll have a road closure just up from the post office, and then another one just before Lund Street. So yeah, that Lund Street side, just because it's a Friday, commuter traffic, that's the lens that I look at it through concerning, making sure we have somebody directing traffic down there. And my scenario that I think of is, we get a car that comes speeding over the hill coming off the off-ramp, they can make it through the wooden barricade, opposed to a Jersey barrier, which I understand would be hard to move in that short window of time. But having somebody there to make sure you're either notifying the people who are in the street to get out of the way, or making sure people go down, that's really where my concern comes in, is just making sure that the road closure is set up properly and that we're maintaining that detour properly with somebody there.
We just don't want, nothing that's too permanent, because an ambulance or a fire truck has to get down there.
Yeah, we can, if there's a way to
Please,
block, you can block one, you don't have to put them straight across the whole way, but I understand that you guys haven't had, officers stationed there before, but I look at it as if National Grid were standing here before me saying, we want to close a road, I'd be having a conversation with them about Jersey barriers, or a detail officer if they didn't have Jersey barriers. So I'm just trying to apply that same lens, regardless of who the vendor, if you will, is. And that, again, I'm not trying to look down upon or make it difficult for the car show. I'm just trying to apply the same premise, regardless of the vendor. That's all.
Okay.
I guess, if I may.
Yes.
Are you gonna require duty officers to be at either end, or is that something?
My main
I'm
concern
just curious.
is that Central Street side, because it's coming down off of the 95. With the Main Street, it's up a little bit from, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
So my main concern is that Central Street side, and we're talking about commuter traffic time, you know, as well. So I wanna have a conversation with, are you planning on putting people who are just stationed at the sides, you know, volunteers? I'm willing to entertain.
We'd have
And we can do that.
Open the barrier to let cars for the show come in.
Yeah.
So that's the idea.
But will you have a traffic volunteer, or could you
Yeah,
have a
somebody
traffic
with a
volunteer
orange vest.
there, and I can provide the vests if
Well, we
need,
got it.
you know, if need be. I'm just looking to try to find, you know, a happy medium to have somebody assigned who's just monitoring traffic to make sure that somebody is following the detour and isn't coming straight for the wooden signs that can easily be, you know, moved out of the way if there's an accident or
we can do
somebody's
that,
not
Chief.
paying attention. That's, you know, that's real. I'm just looking to achieve the same goal without overlooking it.
Okay. Just so you know, I asked the vice chair to look up what time dusk is on September 8th, and it's 7 PM, I think 7:02. So can we change this on your application from dusk to 7 PM? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, if that's when dusk is, that's when
Yeah,
it would end
That's when
anyhow.
the sun sets, so 7 PM. Okay.
Is it-
Any other comments, Patty?
No, I mean, I'm assuming you guys have explored that this is the best location that closing the road is the only option for it.
We haven't had that conversation yet.
Oh, okay, I didn't, yeah, I'm just providing my view based on the information that was in front of us.
All I can tell you, Chief, is that what we've been doing, some of the automotive media said it's the best show of the season.
Oh, I don't doubt that, and again, you know what I mean, similar to the board's request of, I don't wanna wreck anyone's wedding, I don't wanna wreck a car show, you know, but if a worst case scenario happens, right, I have to look at worst case scenario, and that ends up on my shoulders. You know, so in a worst case scenario situation, which is somebody comes barreling over that hill on their cell phone and wiping out, you know, the things, what can we do to mitigate that best possible? I have to look at it from that point, not how awesome the event is, and have that change the lens in which I look at it through. So I'm willing to work with it as long as the same objectives are met, you know what I mean?
Do you think it would help if we put a big barrel about 50 or 75 yards up the street in the middle?
So I do think that and I can provide you with cones too. I think if we put notification at the top of the hill by the gas station, you know, coming that way down, and then again, if we have people who are in vests, you know, directing traffic, I can make sure our West car is there, but I can't commit them there, you know, because they have patrol to do, but I can make sure they monitor the area. I just want to make sure it's not just an orange detour sign,
No problem.
you know, at commuter traffic time as the sun is setting.
So
Patty,
I
what's the
have,
minimum for a detail? What's the minimum they can be there? The
It's
hours, isn't it?
4 hours. It's a 4-hour minimum.
So I did ask Steve about the possibility of changing the location to the Central Street Fields or something like that, and he had a very good point that some of these cars are really expensive and they won't put them on dirt or,
Okay.
for that purpose.
Yeah, perfect.
And I did ask, and I'll ask you both, since you're both there, can you think of any other place that we could hold this without having to close the road?
We thought about Triton, but that's just another level of government.
But that's a good thought.
I didn't even think about that.
We can talk about it for next year. It's a little late now.
Let's see how it goes this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question about, so you're gonna close from the post office to that crossover, right where the BCAC is, that whole street there.
Correct.
You're gonna have, cars are gonna detour down past the library. Where are the people that are gonna show up, the visitors? Where are they gonna park?
Any
Wherever?
place except where the show cars are, any place that's legal.
Yeah, so they just park along the street and stuff like that.
Parking, library parking lot, there won't be any Little League that time of year.
5 o'clock at the post office.
Yeah, post office after 5. We've we've never had anybody complain about it.
The map
Most of the
shows-
people
The map shows
walk.
parking on Lund Street.
Hmm?
The map that you sent in shows parking on
Yeah,
Lund
but
Street.
those are the
Visitor
cars.
parking.
Those are the show cars.
Visitor, it says
Oh,
visitor parking.
Visitor parking.
On Lund Street.
On Lund Street.
Lund Street and
When I drove down Lund Street today, you're probably only getting, at best, if they pull off the roadway, you're probably only getting 10.
a lot of it are walk around,
Yeah.
people from Byfield
You
that
know,
walk
cars
over
there.
to watch it. It's,
Yeah, but if you're making a name for yourself, you're gonna start pulling people in from out of town. So if the visitor parking is gonna be along Lunt Street, is that adequate detour too, to have that plus the visitor?
So I checked it out today, and originally I was concerned that it wouldn't be great with parking and the detour, but after looking at it today, I think it would be fine, and again, I think you're only fitting on the right-hand side, you're only fitting 10, maybe 12 at best
and the
cars.
BCAC has events, they pull in on Lund Street too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
they're
you're
not
it's
closing the road.
You're not fitting a lot of cars
Yeah,
on Lund Street.
but the difference between this event and a BCAC event is the road will be closed.
Yeah.
So people won't be able to go down. They'll
Yeah, so
have
we're
to
just,
go
we're
around.
increasing traffic down Lund Street.
Okay. Now, any questions of the board? Dana?
No?
Bill?
In your letter, you still intend to use BCAC kitchen?
Yeah, we've spoken to the board, the BCAC board. They do ice cream Sundays in the kitchen. So the kitchen is open and the 2 bathrooms are open.
So the BCAC is gonna be hosting that event?
No, they just let us use it. Use the kitchen. You need a freezer for ice cream. That's where there's a freezer. That's where we've always done it.
Yeah, but you did it before when you were the BCAC.
Not me.
Well, Heidi,
Big to say that that was a decision of the BCAC board,
Right.
allowing the car show to use the facility at no cost to the to the car show people. And I'm no longer on the board, but the entire new board of the BCAC has voted to allow this for Stephen and Tony to use their facility.
the only problem with that is I believe their lease doesn't allow them to sublet.
We're not subletting. We're just letting them use the space, not subletting, not renting.
Simply open to the public.
I just, if I may.
Yes.
The only year that we didn't do this was last year, when it was down at the farm.
Right.
Every other year, this is exactly the way
16 years.
it's gone on.
Okay, any other
Part
questions?
of Byfield there, it's right,
Yes.
pancake breakfast and all that.
No, it never really was.
Jeff, do you have any questions?
I mean, I think this is a great event. Anything that brings this town together in some kind of solidarity is great for the town of Newbury. And I just think that it's easy to get wrapped up in, the way you did something for 17 years doesn't necessarily mean it was done the right way. From your perspective, maybe it was, but in terms of use of town property, parking at the library is town parking, there are certain nuances. The Board of Health weighing in with food being prepared.
Yeah, they'll have a permit.
Yeah.
It's the
So
food.
I mean, I'm not sure if
All
those
of
things
the
are.
all the proceeds from this bill go to the Newbury
No, I know,
Food Bank.
it's terrific.
No, it's a great event,
It's
all
great for the town, it's great
around.
for-
I just want to make sure we dot our i's and cross our t's.
Exactly.
Maybe next year you can have it on Newbury Town Day.
Hmm?
Maybe next year you can have it on Newbury Town Day. Just a thought. All right,
Sure.
Jeff, do you have any other comments? Questions? Concerns?
I'm okay with everything, because it's kind of gone on. It is a new police chief, and I deflect totally to what Patty has for concerns and would support to make sure she's comfortable. Other than that, so Patty, it's up to you, for me, anyway.
Yeah, I'm willing to work with them to make sure that we're achieving, you know, those goals, to make sure that we're protecting traffic and the guests in the street on that side.
Great. Okay, any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Leslie, you can come back.
Jeff didn't switch chairs while I was gone, did he? Shorty, make sure it's good.
Okay, so now I have a one-day liquor license for a wedding at Spencer Pierce Little Farm on September 8th, 2023. Could I entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Julie, is everything in order?
Yes.
Great. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have a one-day liquor license application for Mercury Brewing Vintage Baseball at the Spencer Pierce Little Farm. I'm gonna actually, if anybody
Good.
has any
Yeah.
suggestions, I'll take them all at once.
Just the
They
date.
are on August 13th, August 20th, August 26th, September 10th, September 17th, September 24th, October 1st. That's it. And that's it.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, one-day liquor license application for, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it, Mr. Patel Wedding at Peter Hall on August 12th, 2023.
Motion to accept.
Julie, is everything in order?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
I just have a discussion.
Yeah.
I've done a bunch of stuff at Peter Hall also. I'm assuming that they're gonna be selling alcohol there? Is that
Well,
what?
to get a liquor license, yes, you need to.
No, I mean, is that what they're planning on doing?
Well, this is a wedding, I don't know if it'll be a cash, I'm assuming it'll be a cash bar.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what my question is.
Yeah, they get, I mean, they have to get their alcohol from the certified, you know, vendors, whatever they call them, from the ABCC. They dictate who they get the alcohol from, and they'll be served at the venue. And
But I mean, if they weren't gonna pay for it, they don't need a liquor license, do they?
if it's private property, they wouldn't.
Okay. That's all.
Let's see.
I'm ready to vote.
Pull it up.
I'm sorry. I just.
Let's see.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next is Sanborn, class of 1968. Again, it's a one-day liquor license.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Okay. Julie, everything's in order with this one, too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any discussion?
No.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I have public property use requests for Kelly Majewski for the Gene Geiger Crisis Center, a banner and the upper green backstop, September 19th
Motion to,
through
yep,
October
sorry,
2nd.
10, yep.
Yeah. Jeff,
Motion to accept.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Do we know what the banner's for? Probably.
Yeah, it's the crisis center. They're doing a walk.
Oh, they're doing the walk,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Here it is. They have to walk against domestic violence, that's what I wanted to say. Okay, so, the public property use, again, for the American Hand Fire Engine Society, the annual Fireman's Muster, on the Upper Green, July 23rd, 2023.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, that's always a fun event. Any questions?
Did you say 23rd or 29th?
It's the 29th.
23rd.
Oh,
She did say the 29th.
oh, but it's the 29th.
29th, yep,
The 29th, did I say the 23rd?
yep, it's all right.
Sorry, I sneezed. This is on the 29th. And they're gonna waive the umbrella insurance and consent form will be provided. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And now we have, yeah, so we have a public property use request by William DeMayo for the World War II Memorial, the Purple Heart Recognition Wreath Laying Ceremony on August 7th, 2023, 7:30 PM through 8 o'clock PM. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Thank you for doing this, Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we have a public property use request for the Newbury Town Day on August 26th, 2023, Central Street Fields, a movie, a band, and closing ceremony. Okay, this is the public property request for the use of the fields.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? That's already been cleared through the rec committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have a public property use request for Newbury Town Day, 2023, Morgan Ave High Road at 25 High Road for a dunk tank event from 2 to 3 PM.
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion on this one. I have a question as to why, Jack, are you here still? Do you want to come up? I have a question as to why we're using the parking lot at 25 High Road. What, I think we,
I'll join you.
Come on aboard.
thank you.
Out of an abundance of concern for public safety, Patty and I, suggested by Patty that we use the front lot to stay out of the way of any possible conflict with an operations of fire department or police responding.
So their original, when they originally spoke to me about it, they wanted it in between the police and the fire department. And my thought is, we've got two areas with emergency vehicles coming and going from there. We have confidential business that takes place at the back. And that there would be more room out at 25 High Road. It would also be more visible to the public to stop and kind of come by and contribute to the fundraiser that they're raising money for. I believe the water is still active in that building, so they can fill the dunk tank. That was one of the requirements that you needed. And I think that for this particular event, without interfering in police operations with people coming to the lobby to report things or the fire station, we can use the parking around 25 High Road, and it wouldn't interfere in the business aspect of the police station or the fire department. So that was why I recommended that we switch to 25 High Road instead of in between the two public safety buildings.
Okay, I was kind of thinking it wouldn't be good to have it on the green, on the upper green, but I guess the water would be an issue.
At least the first year would be the instant access, so to speak, that the building, if not the old town hall itself, the men have promised, we can bring it up from the existing fire station. So that's one concern. I think we'd have to make other arrangements, and we could do it certainly for next year. We could do it down, and I'd love to put it on down in that area, but we'd have to make some sort of an arrangement for the multiple gallons that it takes to fill up the tank. So we'd have to stage, I'd have to work with the men, or maybe even Bob Haynes would come with his rig, and he could come with it filled up and stage or something, Bob, the old firefighter. So I can't do that this year because we did the arrangements based on the logistics discussed. So I'd certainly entertain that next year for sure.
And with the green, we'd need to look at, we have a lot of, I was thinking of it from a police operations point of view, we're gonna have to have a lot of officers kind of in different places while things go on throughout this day. So to add crossing 1A, assuming we would use 25 High Road as parking, if we moved it over to the green, I just thought, while we feel out the fact that this is the second year that it's kind of growing a little bit more, would give me a better lens on what the need for that would be.
Okay.
We do have the elementary school too. Not this year, but, it's got a pretty good sized parking lot.
I'd work with Patty wherever she feels most comfortable, and of course Doug's successors, whoever that may be, in order to bring it to, proper fruition for the time, for the initial time out, the first shot out of the gates here. It's a great location, as our chief points out, for for a lot of people seeing it to draw them in, as well as the bathrooms that the new police station affords for us, as well as the parking up and down in the area. It fits for this year very much so, and we'll build on improving it accordingly.
So what time are you planning on doing this? It says 1 hour, but is that 1 o'clock?
I believe on there it says 2 to 3.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
we're
that's-
working it in conjunction with Patty and the fires
2 to 3
station
p.m.
are going to have open houses from 1 to 2. So there'll be a lead-in, as it were, to the event itself. So it's a nice complement for everybody. The fire department will roll out their equipment, and of course Patty will have some people to show the pride we have in our current, our new fire
And the
station.
hand tub will be there on display as well.
Excuse me?
The hand tub will be there.
Yes,
as well.
correct, yeah, as well, the hand tub will be there, as well as special guests. I make mention while we have the time, Mr. Packer has volunteered to be dunked. Ex-select board member Mike Doyle will be dunked. Everybody's favorite Jimmy Olsen, Daily News editor Dave Rogers is going to be dunked. And as well, of course, I offered myself into the wetness, and
Jim
so we have a formidable lineup.
And Jim Surratt has volunteered as well.
Yeah, he will be around. So we're gonna, Channing Howard will run the auction component of it, our historical chairman. Sulek will collect the money as part of the auction and present it back to the pantry in the form of Heidi. And we'll also be incorporating a can drive component into it for those who show up. Also, if they bring a can, they'll win a free shot at the end of the auction part of it to take on maybe their own father or anyone else they so sponsor to go up and sit if they're inclined. We'll fill the hour with wetness for sure, and a lot of fun.
We'll see you there, Jeff.
Okay. All right. Any further questions?
You gonna be there?
Oh, I'll be there.
It's a possible
All-
meeting too, I might add.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, one-day entertainment license for the Newburytown Day for the Central Street Fields, the movie and the band.
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So the band, the entertainment license for the movie is gonna be the time, what's the time? It says hours of event, 6 hours, but it's 2 to 10? That's more than 6 hours, isn't it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Hour
That's
of
8
that.
hours.
The John Regan is running, is using the field for a pickleball tournament from 3 to 5. Our event is 5 to 10-ish. So maybe that's why the total over is. But I
Okay.
think, Newbury Town Days has secured, with the permission of the Newbury Rec Committee, the entirety of the field for the day.
Yeah. Okay.
I offered to Julie that I did hear from Swank Productions today, and we have and I forwarded that document to you, so we do have permission and copyright permission. The movie we'll be showing for everybody is the 1971 version with Gene Wilder, and it's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Ah, a classic.
It will be, and we hope it covers the spectrum for every person who's going to enjoy the show.
Okay.
And the musical entertainment is?
Greta's Electric Band will warm us up from 5 to 5:30 to 7 or so. There'll be of course, closing ceremonies between the band and the start of the movie. At the start of the movie, the Newbury Food Pantry and all operations will shut down peripheral to the movie itself. Again, the Newbury Food Pantry will be operating independent of the Field House in their typical setup with a pop-up, and they'll be doing hot dogs and hamburgers and bagged popcorn as well for the attendees.
So the field house, what's the field house gonna be used for?
The Field House is used for the bathrooms, of course,
Yeah, but not the kitchen.
not the kitchen, correct?
Yeah.
Although I've learned it doesn't really, if you either get the whole thing or you get nothing.
Well, you go into the thing, right?
Yeah, it's either open or it isn't, so. They've approved, the rec committee's approved to open the field house.
Yeah. Okay.
We good?
Any further discussion? Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll offer one more thing, Jeff. As part, I offer this for the public, the Essex County Mosquito Control Unit Commission, of which our ex-select board member Vinnie Russo is still the vice chair of this commission. Jeff, they will in fact, they'll spray the field Thursday before our event. Newbury, of course, pays into the county program, and Deb Rogers kindly facilitated the ask, because it takes the Board of Health to ask permission to spray a public field. So Thursday night, Jeff, will duke a lot of the mosquitoes, as we discussed at the end of the last meeting, and hopefully the adulticide treatment on Thursday night, combined with what we'll bring as a natural defender, should make, I hope, a very pleasant night, or certainly a lot better than it would have been otherwise. And I thank former Select Board Member Russo and his commission for helping.
Are they coming in the night before or?
Thursday night. They do Thursday nights, is their MO, the commission's MO. And then you get a notification on Friday morning that weather actually allowed them to do it, because they do it at night when nobody's around,
I
of
was
course.
trying to wonder what the length of time that it takes to work, but it's all fine, it'll work.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
So, on top of this, I'd like to entertain a motion to waive any of our fees that are entertainment license fees that are required for the Newburytown Day events.
Motion made.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so that's this, and that's that. Okay, old business.
You have to do the dunk tank.
Oh.
One-day entertainment for the dunk tank.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, could I entertain a motion for one-day liquor license for the dunk tank?
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And again, I'll waive for that event as well. Is there a motion and a second?
Motion made.
Second.
Bless you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, under old business. Okay, so, one of the things that the select board passed back in 2017, I believe it was, is a code of ethics. And with the new SJC ruling, we had to amend this code of ethics to align with that ruling. And I believe you were emailed both a red line copy and a clean copy. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the clean copy as the updated, reviewed code of ethics as of today, 7/25/2023.
Motion made.
Second.
Okay, this has already been vetted through town council, all their changes have been made in here. Any discussion, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next. Next, we have the select board public comment policy. I think, Dana, you asked that we get this on this agenda. So, is a draft, you was sent a draft policy. I guess, has everyone read it? Are there any comments? Any questions? I guess I'll entertain a motion to approve the draft public comment policy.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
I read it. I think I like it. I think it's an improvement. What I don't believe previously, we had a section where people could talk about individual agenda items during our meetings. I think that that's an addition.
Yeah.
I really like that addition. I think it's gonna bode us well in the future. The beginning, just for the general public, the beginning really hasn't changed much. from what we've been
No,
doing.
and I can read the preamble, the introduction to it, but I do have a question of the board. Currently, the way our public comment policy reads is that we allow the first 15 minutes, and we allow up to 3 minutes a person, but the segment is limited to 15 minutes. I don't know if the tenor of the board is if to lower that to 2 minutes to get more variety of public comment, because if it's a 2 minutes within 15 minutes, but then you don't have an even 15 minutes, so, I don't know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. What do we think? Do we want to keep it 3 minutes?
We were going to check to see if those parameters could be extended at the discretion of the chair. The 15, if the 15 and the 3 could be extended.
I believe that the town council's opinion on this was that if the chair of any board or committee sees that it's a contentious, like, I'm gonna call it a contentious meeting, or there's gonna be a lot of public comment up front, before the meeting begins, the chair can extend the public comment and say, I see there's a lot of meeting, there's a lot of public comment here, I'm gonna extend it to the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever.
Okay.
I believe you can do that.
Okay. And then just for clarification for people who don't see the document, what Dana said is true. The chair can add a public comment session to an individual agenda item. So it would be stated on the agenda that public comments for this agenda item can be received, listened to.
So the introduction of this draft document is, it says, "The Town of Newbury Select Board welcomes engagement from residents of the town of Newbury and sets forth a plan to receive oral communications during business meetings and electronic communications. To facilitate ongoing and open dialogue, the Select Board will include at least one opportunity at each business meeting to hear oral communications from members of the public. The public comment period will be at the beginning of the meeting with the following parameters. Each speaker may address the Select Board for up to 3 minutes. The public comment period will be limited to 15 minutes in total. The Select Board will not engage in discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future meeting agenda." Now, I just want to pause here, because I think there's been some confusion in the public realm about why the Select Board does not engage in discussion on topics raised during public comment. And I'm going to take this opportunity to clarify that publicly. The purpose of the open meeting law is when the Select Board sets an agenda, is to notify the public of items that will be discussed and deliberated on in public at a meeting of a public body. That's the purpose of an agenda. When we have public comment and people come in and they want us to start engaging in dialogue on items that are not on a posted agenda, we are now deliberating on a topic that is not on a posted agenda, and the public has not been made aware of it, and therefore it is a violation of the open meeting law. So I know that the Select Board has gotten, a lot of comments in the past about not engaging in discussion on topics raised during public comment, but there is a specific purpose, and I believe it's an important purpose, why we should not be doing that, because it's a violation of the open meeting law. So the next comment here, it says, "These parameters may be extended at the discretion of the chair. Any extensions will be announced before the public comment period begins." So that's where we can extend if we want to, but it has to be before the public comment period begins. The chair will read the following statement before the public comment period. To receive oral communications from members of the public, members of the public may address the Select Board for up to 3 minutes. The Select Board will not engage in discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes. That's exactly how it's written now. The underlying portions of the statement may be adjusted, and that's the 3 minutes limited to 15 minutes if the chair determines that additional time may be warranted. Further, if the chair reserves the right to move to the agenda items should there be limited comments and the full time is not needed. So similar to what we do now, if there's no public comment, we move right into the agenda. We don't wait 15 minutes. The chair may also add a public comment session to individual agenda items with the following parameters. The opportunity for oral communications from the public will be noted on the agenda for the posted open meeting. The parameters of the public comment section will be specified in the agenda item, including the length of time each speaker will be allowed and the total time of the public comment section. The public comments must be relevant to the agenda item. The chair can interrupt public comments if they are not relevant to the agenda item. The chair will read the following statement before the public comment period. To receive oral communications from the members of the public may address the select board for up to 2 or 3 minutes, whatever the chair chooses. This agenda segment will be limited to X number of minutes. Please note the comments must be relevant to the agenda item, and the chair may interrupt comments if they are not relevant to the agenda item. The underlined portions of the statement detail time rules will be updated by the chair and the posted agenda. Those are the 2 X's. Additionally, members of the public may contact the select board via email at selectboard@townofnewbury.org. We have always taken in written comment. We have never not taken in written comment. So I think this is all-inclusive. How does the board feel? Leslie?
It's pretty clear.
Yeah. And I think it offers a lot of opportunity for input when needed. Jeff?
I think the ability to open up the meetings to the agenda item and have some, ability to discuss it is a positive factor.
Yeah, I do too. Bill?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I attended the FinCom meeting last week, and their draft is almost identical to this. They'll have the same opportunity for people to make comments as long as it's noted on the agenda item, which is great, so.
Dana?
Yeah, I concur. The first section, as far as the time frame, has worked pretty well. I don't think that's, and I think what the public needs to realize is that first section, you can talk about anything. Anything you want to come in and talk about, you can talk about in that first section. I think that's important. However, like what the chair said, that doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to deliberate. Well, actually, we're probably not going to deliberate.
Can't deliberate.
Whatever you may bring up during that comment period. And then the second half of it is the comments when we're actually talking about something on the agenda. I think that the reason why, and I'm just making this up as I go along, but the reason why you have X minutes and XX minutes is because those items may need people to speak for a longer period of time than what we normally would allow.
Right.
So I'm all for it. I like it.
Yeah, and I will say that I believe this bubbled up from the Finance Committee. We've tweaked it a little bit for the Select Board, but I like the fact that we have the same policies, and I would recommend all our boards and committees to possibly take this on as their public comment policy. Okay, so all in favor of the new Select Board public policy, public comment policy? Say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, unanimous.
Can we put this on the town website so that people
Sure.
so that they will understand when they walk in, what is expected of them? Because
Yeah.
I think that would be a good thing to put on the town website.
We can even have a couple here that are
Yeah.
paper copies.
Yeah.
For residents that come in. Okay, so next item on the agenda is the Municipal Building Committee recommendation for the demolition delay bylaw. Now, Leslie Matthews has asked that I place this on the agenda for discussion, so that's why it's on here. So Leslie, I'd like to know your thoughts on this.
Well, my thoughts on it are, I think it's a very a viable location as it sits right now, that it can be used. It shouldn't be put on the chopping block. There should be some more mitigation as far as protecting it. It could be rehabbed in a certain way to be used for another program here in town, such as a permanent home for the Council on Aging, in the near future. It has good historical value to it. It enhances the look of that part of the community. And at this point in time, the people have pretty much said, we're not ready for a big town hall. We want to keep things more in perspective of the way they look today.
So-
To put almost like an axe to it with, it's like putting it on death row, I guess you could say. That you would put this permit out, it's given a certain amount of time, and then after that amount of time, if it gets torn down, what's the plan?
Well, that's, the purpose of the demolition delay bylaw is, and I think it's part of all your packets.
Yep.
It's to ensure that any of our buildings that are historical or could be historical have the opportunity to be preserved.
Right, so I
And
know
if
that
there's-
time is allowed to take that opportunity to
To
bring
preserve the
to bring
building.
it back to life again.
So, by moving this to the Historic Commission and allowing them to do their work, because no matter what's done to that building, if the building is major structural, they put an addition on, whatever, it's got to go through this demolition delay bylaw. So whether or not it actually is demolished is a whole nother story.
Okay.
But at least having the Historical Commission look at it, vet it, and if it is truly historical, quite frankly, it needs to be protected. And that's the role of the Historical Commission.
That's
So-
the, you're right.
So-
And the other thing is it'll give it an opportunity for assessment.
Right,
to
and if
do-
there's
To do the
something-
work on it, and
If there's something historical, truly historical about that building, then it needs to be saved, and, perhaps somebody will come in and save it. So I think that's important. Martha, you were on this, or Dana, actually, you first. You were on the committee. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, thank you for asking. A couple things I want to point out about this. Well, first of all, are we gonna move forward with this?
We're gonna vote on it tonight.
We're gonna vote on moving this forward
The
tonight.
recommendation to move it to the Historic Commission.
Okay, well, I just want to talk about the procedure. First of all, significant or significant structure. The definition of that is any structure or portion thereof which meets one of the following criteria. And one of the criteria that is listed, that the building falls into a significant structure, if it is listed or is within an area listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And that building is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So it is considered a significant structure. Now, whether it has any historical value, I'm not addressing that. I'm just addressing what the bylaw says. The next part, I want to skip right down to the procedure. And the procedure is that if we file with the building commissioner, and then the building commissioner has 7 days to forward that to the historical commission, and then the historical commission has 15 days after the receipt of the application to make a written determination of whether the structure is significant or not. I think that those time frames are important to get into your head. And now, under the procedure, it talks about the application itself. And in the application, as a town, we would have to have the reason for requesting the demolition permit listed on the application. And then I'm not going through all of them, but these are the ones I feel are important. And then 4.1E, a brief description of the proposed reuse, reconstruction, or replacement. That has to be in the application before you even apply for it. We haven't made any of those decisions as a town.
A brief description, so applicant proposing to demolish any structure shall file with the.
Good, you're on the same page, in other words, it's premature in some respects.
Yes.
Yeah, you were good, yeah, same as that. Yep.
So,
I'm really confused, because I listened to the video, I watched the video of the last meeting of the Municipal Building Committee, and you very succinctly said that this should be presented to the Board of Selectmen because of the duration of the process, 9 months, and the people, you stressed this many times, the people need to know this does not mean the building definitely will be demolished. That was your position, and you voted in favor of passing it on to us tonight, okay?
I know, first of all, I didn't get, I was not a voting member of the
I know
Municipal
that,
Building
but
Committee.
he asked you for your vote.
But I understand the briefing that was given to us. That was the briefing that the Municipal Building Committee presented to us. And this happened to be something that I just want to say that this was a recommendation of Bob Connors, was going through this process.
Right.
I agreed with presenting this to the select board,
Right.
but I don't agree with going through this process right now.
so,
that's,
so if the building is historically significant,
no, it says,
no, I see all that stuff.
it's a
but-
significant structure because it's in the National Register of Historic Places. It's a significant structure.
So, like, my question, my reason, and I'm open to this, willing to change my mind on this one, is to send it to the Historical Commission and let them, before any work is done to that building, and I guess, Martha, I'd like your opinion on this one, too. Before any work is done to that building for any purpose whatsoever, I would like to know if it's historically significant, so that if it needs to be saved, we give somebody the opportunity to save it. I mean, I just think,
Changed ownership.
no, wait a minute. Go ahead, Martha.
So I think the purpose of making the recommendation was precisely that, to kind of trigger the process so that a determination could be made on whether the building is preferably preserved. I think that's the language in the bylaw. And Dana's correct. One of the things that constitutes its being significant is the fact that it is in our National Register Historic District, and it's a contributing structure to that. So by submitting a demolition permit, that would at least allow the process to go through. And I think, as you said, to determine whatever might happen to it, whether it would be altered at some point,
You're right.
or demolished, or replaced with something else.
Because, quite frankly, if nothing is done to it, it's just gonna sit there and deteriorate.
Well,
And I don't
actually,
want that if it's historical either.
That's under the responsibility of the owner.
And
We
that's
as a
the
town have the responsibility to not allow that to happen.
Right.
That's part of the bylaw also.
Well, so now, the town, as an owner, is in kind of a conundrum, because we have to maintain a building that we're not using, or that we currently have no use for. So,
I think what you're missing on this, Alicia, though, is the fact that we are the owners. We are the people who should be taking care of it. Just because I might not live in my house doesn't mean I should just let it deteriorate and fall apart. It's part of the history of our town. So it's our responsibility. We're the stewards of the building.
true. So, I don't know, do we want, rather than, I guess, I mean, I really would like the Historical Commission to weigh in, I guess, that's my point.
I agree with you, absolutely.
Well, they can't until you go, and Martha can correct me if I'm wrong, they can't until you file this application with the building commissioner. That's where it begins.
Right, and he has,
Yeah.
he has 7 days and then they have 15 days to
Right, so you
respond to
can't
the
just have the
application.
historical commission evaluate the building without going through this process.
So what's the harm in doing what you just said? Do that
Okay.
two-step process.
I want to go back to your procedure. The reason for requesting the demolition permit, that has to be on the application, and then a brief description of the proposed reuse, reconstruction, or replacement of the building. That has to be on the application also. We have not made any of those determinations. So I don't know how we can even file the application.
Because we don't even know what the condition of the building is on the interior at this point in time.
Well, it doesn't talk about that. That doesn't really matter. I mean, it's, what would matter is the responsibilities of the owner, if it becomes a significant structure. If that's determined by the historical commission, then our responsibilities of keeping the building up to speed, let's say, becomes our responsibility, and not allowing it to just fall to pieces.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
We have a very robust facilities maintenance program. I don't know who's suggesting that it's falling into disrepair.
I think
Okay.
it's not, we're not.
It's not. Okay,
it-
okay.
It's, none of us have seen it, so we just, you know, we don't know.
Yep, we'll make sure it doesn't in the meantime, while you decide what you want to do with it.
Okay. So that's the only, you know, my concern is if it's truly historically significant, that the Historic Commission has an opportunity to weigh in. That's my only feeling.
And what Dana is saying, that in order to get the Historic Commission on board for this, we first have to go through Pete Bennett to.
This process, this
Yes.
procedure.
Yep.
Martha, do you have any comments, additional comments?
No, so that is the process. You file a demolition permit to trigger this process. It's already considered significant because of the criteria that it's in the National Register Historic District. And so the commission, the Historic Commission would most likely determine that it's significant, and then they would go through the process of determining whether it's preferably preserved or not. So in a sense, no matter what the town decides to do with it, that would at least have that determination made. So if, you know, if it's going to be added on to or renovated at some point or replaced, the town would be in a position to know that and be able to move forward with whatever plans those are. So, I mean, Dana's correct that we don't have a plan for what that will be, so that might be something to discuss with Peter in submitting the demolition permit request, but.
And even acquiring the permit, if it's decided upon that it has significant value, the permit can be just voided out at any point in time, correct?
No, it's not approved.
No.
If the historical commission determines that it is a significant structure that we need to keep, then the permit does not get approved.
Okay.
For the demolition.
Okay.
No, then you have to find somebody that wants it, that can just store it and do all that stuff. And then after, if nobody steps forward and takes it, then you can move forward with demolition, I think. But where's this so far? I just feel as if the Historic Commission hasn't had an opportunity to weigh in on this yet, but, all right, so.
Madam Chair,
yeah.
Jack, I don't know if you want to entertain something from Jack or.
I only offer, can it, without the historical context, can't we just treat it as a repurposable asset? That's what it is to the citizens at large. It's a repurposable asset, historical component or not, that's all.
Well, it's an asset. It's an asset of the town.
Yes.
All right, so I won't entertain any kind of a vote on this. We'll just take this under advisement and think about this and.
And I appreciate you putting it on the agenda this evening.
All right, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so next we have a town administrator's report. Tracy.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I just wanted to let you know I had an opportunity to speak with town council yesterday regarding the conflicts we had with the Select Board Town Administrator Act relative to Select Board and FinCom members serving in other roles. And basically, the language used in the act talks about not serving in any other town offices. And that is referring to any other elected or appointed positions within the community. And it doesn't include being part of any greater association, so it doesn't include things like Triton or Essex Vet. So right now what we're looking at is the actions that will need to be taken immediately. Relative to the Finance Committee, Tom Howard will need to resign from his position as town constable or as a member of the Finance Committee. Members serving on the Capital Planning Committee, the Finance Committee members serving on the Capital Planning Committee will need to resign. That's Tom Howard and Marshall Jesperson. And in addition to that, you're going to have to amend your bylaw to conform with the act. The Finance Committee as well, Susan Noyce will need to resign from either her position as the parking clerk or as a member of the Finance Committee. Select Board members, if there are any, I don't believe we appointed them yet this year, will need to resign from the Recreation Committee. They will not be able to serve. And the January 23rd, 2018 policy statement of the Rec Committee will need to be amended to conform with the acts of 2008. Select Board member Jeff Walker will need to resign from the Municipal Vulnerability Task Force. Select Board member Bill DeMayo should resign, and already has, from the Veterans Graves Officer position. Select Board members will be able to serve on the DCC because they're a separate entity, and on the Eastern Essex Veterans District, and on the Merrimack River Beach Alliance. So you could remain on those. But it's also one of the point that they wanted to clarify is the fact that it's very important to note that all of the actions taken by these members previously, all of their votes are indeed valid. So just so you're there, well, up until this point, when we're made aware of this. In addition to that, the fire chief search is underway. We are working with Community Paradigm Associates. The goal is to have a new chief in place by late October. So we're moving forward with that. Interviews for a new IT manager are underway. I actually made an offer to one of the candidates and he declined. So we're gonna continue with the next round. And I'm very sad to tell you that the town accountant has accepted a position in Danvers, so we will be looking for a new town accountant as well. Very disappointed to see her go, but it was an opportunity that she couldn't pass up. It is a very integral position. It is a difficult time of year for us. We've got a lot going on in the finance department in terms of closing our books and opening 2024, so that search will certainly take priority.
When's her departure?
2 weeks.
Everything gets easy, huh?
Nope. No, it's not. Wow.
Any other good news?
None. Nope, that's all I've got for tonight.
Thank you. So under correspondence, we don't have any. Meeting updates, I have asked Chief Janvrin, who is retiring very soon, to come in and give us a fire department update for the state of the department.
State of the department. I'll give it the hour, I'll make it brief, but, yeah.
Thank you.
And by the way, I knew nothing about what was going on tonight. There were a couple of people that kept me in the dark and did a very good job, but I do appreciate it, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Just want to thank you for allowing Deputy Chief Zila to fill in as the interim chief. He's experienced, competent, very, very capable, and He'll do a great job for you. I have no qualms at all leaving the fire department in his hands. He's he's day-to-day operations with me every day anyway, so it's gonna be a very seamless transition. So I'm very excited for that.
So may I interrupt you for a
Yes,
second? Thank
absolutely.
you so much,
Yeah, thank
Deputy
you.
Zeeler, for stepping up and serving the town of Newbury. Thank you.
Other than that, we're just, it's a bunch of grant stuff that we're just trying to transition over. We did finally fill our SAFER grant, our personnel SAFER grant.
Oh,
We
good.
made offers yesterday, they both accepted today, and they're starting next week.
Wonderful.
So that's gonna help us out a lot.
So now, does that bring you to a full
6.
full head count?
Yep.
Awesome.
Right now, yep. And we do have 3 or 4 interim, per diem people that we're interviewing that looked hopeful, so hopefully that'll help us out a lot, I think. There's one grant open that I won't be able to finish, just waiting for an announcement, that's all. 2 grants, actually, I'm sorry. One's a grant to replace Engine 9, which those are kind of hard to come by, so I put it in, you won't get it if you don't ask, but
Right.
I'm not terribly hopeful. But the next one is for 2 sets of battery-operated rescue tools for each station.
Okay.
So I'm fairly confident. I haven't heard no yet, and that's a good sign. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping we get that. Yeah, that'll be great if we get that. We did receive our $15,000 grant for ballistic gear for our EMS personnel if there's a mass shooting.
Okay.
So we got the money, we just, due to supply chain issues, we just haven't got the equipment yet. But it's on order, and Deputy, what they say? Middle of September, yeah, so.
Okay.
Yep. So the main focus now is just me transitioning things to Chief Zeeler. Like I said, that's not a very hard job because he's so involved anyway, so we'll be good with that. I would like to thank the Select Board members and Town Administrator Blaze for your support and your faith in me and your trust as your fire chief for the last 6 years. It's meant the world to me, and I couldn't have done it without you, all of you. As well as the residents of the town of Newbury. Without them, we wouldn't have what we have now. So they've all been very supportive of us, and I will miss all the residents. I enjoy interacting with everyone, and that'll be a problem, but it's okay. I'll still be around, so.
Yeah. You're not moving, right?
I'm not, no. The men and women of the Newbury Fire Department, I can't say enough. You know, a chief is nothing without their team, and I have an excellent team behind me, and I will miss every one of them. I wish them all the best, but it made my job much, much easier. So I really miss all my team, but it's been a great team. The department heads and the town employees and all that get along great with everybody. It's been a really good time as chief. Especially, my one regret is I can't work with Chief Fisher longer. I have loved working with you the last few months, and you are going to be an excellent chief. You are a pleasure to work with and so competent, and you're going to do great things coming up. I know you are.
I appreciate that. You've been outstanding to partner with throughout my whole career, so I appreciate everything you've meant to me through my whole career.
Thank you. And I thank you all, and I wish nothing but success for the town of Newbury and for the Newbury Fire Department. So,
awesome.
Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Have fun.
I'll see you.
Okay. Now we have to review and approve meeting minutes. We have,
I have a meeting update.
oh, yes.
Karen Tyler is leaving
Oh, yes, I heard
Essex
that.
Vets, and I'm actually really excited I can stay on the board. I don't know if we're gonna do reappointments.
We will.
But, yeah, okay. I would certainly volunteer to be reappointed to that position. I don't know who's gonna replace Karen. She's gonna be a tough replacement, but I believe we have a board meeting tomorrow night, and that will be her last board meeting. We'll be saying goodbye and trying to figure it all out, so.
Okay. Are you going to attend that meeting?
Yes, I am.
All right. I don't think you can vote because you're not appointed yet, but I think you should attend.
Yeah, I don't know if there's gonna be, okay, well, that's a good tip of the day. I'm not sure if we're voting on anything, but I will definitely let them know that.
So, Tracy, I guess my question is there any opportunity for regionalization of this Essex County, like,
It's the Veterans Association, it's already
yeah, but,
regional.
I mean, bigger regionalization, or no?
No.
No.
I can address that. It used to be 8 towns.
Right.
And it has shrunk to 6 towns.
Right.
Because it really, for what they do in that office, it really became unmanageable because they do a tremendous amount of work. And that had a lot to do with the other Karen that we hired full-time there. The board recommended that, and the town, Tracy graciously, increased our Essex
Oh, I remember that.
Vets budget. That was so that we could put that second full-time person in that office to help Karen out. And now that Karen's leaving, that's gonna be invaluable until we get her replaced, so.
So they're gonna replace that, it's not an opportunity for further
I don't think so.
regionalization, okay. Like with the ACO, I'm thinking, but no, okay. All right, any other meeting updates?
I have some.
Yeah.
Just a reminder that you approved ceremony August 7th at 7:30. We will lay a purple wreath at the World War II Memorial near the post office, 7:30 to 8 o'clock. The next day, August 8th, Council on Aging has a veterans brunch at Peter Hall at 10:30. So we need to get the word out to veterans to come to that. Veterans and their spouses are invited. And on a personal basis, I attended the rec committee meeting and the finance committee meeting, and the human resource committee meeting. It was my intent to touch all of them as a new member, just to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Making sure people knew who I was and that I knew who they were.
Okay, bravo. Any other meeting updates? Jeff, has the MIBA met lately? No, huh?
No.
Okay. I'll review and approve minutes, draft meeting minutes from 6/13/2023. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Draft minutes from 6/20/2023.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes from 6/27.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then minutes from 6/29.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to sign warrants?
Motion to sign warrants.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
In executive session, none? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.